And welcome, Red Leaf Retrocast Wrestling. I am JD. Ricky, here for another episode.
Hello.
Yeah, lot to talk about. We actually watched a WWE show.
You did.
Crazy. The Royal Rumble. I do end up watching this thing every year, despite my disdain for the World Wrestling, formerly known as Federation product these days, but I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit here in our little outside promotions discussion, because honestly, I think that's going to be the focus besides our regular AEW New Japan, because I went on quite a binge of a bunch of promotions, and I kind of have an announcement to make because of that.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Yes. So we got that section. We'll call it the international section, I suppose. That'll come before AEW and then New Japan. I think because of the unfortunate passing of Jay Briscoe, we'll kind of leave off the whole Dynamite review, because that's going to be a big chunk after we kind of blast through New Japan and the other promotions. And then from there, it's kind of around the world of Joshi wrestling. That'll be my small little section this time around, because Stardom is doing their Triangle Derby, and I have some loose thoughts on it, but a little teaser is I've mostly enjoyed it, but there's a lot not hitting and missing right now in the promotion as they gear up for, well, cheering to come back for the first time in 3 years for Stardom, which is an exciting prospect that, imminently, Japan has, lifted the restrictions after all this time, and yet there's a lot of venues that have sold tickets, and they're kind of finishing that out under the restriction process. I think one of the ones that stands out is just yesterday, upon this recording, there was the Yuji Hino Kazusuda Higuchi title match in DDT, and it was still sold for the 700-ish capacity, and so that was kind of like what we might see for the next week or so. Are these venues still having the restricted sales? And then you can cheer while there. So kind of take that for what it's worth. There was a similar aspect, but this news came after the All Japan Pro Wrestling show, where there was this crazy match of the year contender that's going around of a tag title match in that promotion involving Aoyagi and Kento Miyahara. So that's got a big recommendation, but we're not talking about those two promotions, because I honestly aren't into those personally. I was into DDT a few years ago, but that's neither here nor there. The promotion does nothing for me these days, much like All Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm into other things. Tastes evolve and change over time, and sometimes you get sick of the product they're putting out and you move on,
That's fair.
Yeah. So there's the Joshi, and then the Retro has come back. God help me, it's more Vince Russo WCW in 1999. Boy, if you like sub 5-minute matches, that's a show for you. My God. It is the infamous Nitro, in which there is a count out in a hardcore match where there's no count outs. It's that show. If you remember, anyone remembers the jokes. Oh yeah. And All Japan Women makes a return, and very exciting. I love this. It is the Queendom show from November 28th, 1993, with a big heavy metal title match of Aja Kong taking on Eagle Sawai. I adored this. There's some news that are coming out of that show as well. So look forward to that over there. And obviously, if you like Ricky, you enjoy my voice, right? You enjoy listening to my opinions. Obviously correct and factual.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
You would love to learn more history of women's wrestling, right?
Actually, that I would. Yes.
Yeah. So available on the Patreon, Red Leaf Retrocast Patreon, you can find Joshi 2010's journey, in which now just released upon this podcast release is a latest episode from Stardom in 2012 with the debut of a wrestler, at least in Stardom sense, Yuhi, and the retirement of Arisa Hoshiki, her first one, and a returning Io Shirai from Mexico, in which she was arrested with weed planted on her from a wrestler. Lots of news over there on the Joshi 2010s. Naturally, crazy. Monthly LLPW reviews. One was just released a week ago. The retirement of Otaku Hozumi, or at least the third to last match of her career. She's on retirement road. That is a big theme in wrestling these days, much like in the realm of Keiji Muto. Got to get that sweet dollar. Everything's a final bye-bye for each iteration of a character. Not to that extent, but Hozumi's retiring. And the debut episode came out recently of Pure J Podcast. It's a podcast, monthly podcast dedicated to all things Pure J wrestling, involving that small Joshi promotion, the remnants and continuation of JWP. That is a joint podcast with me and JPQ, who frequents the PWI and his own ventures. So that is over there on the Patreon, all tiers. Everything's listed. And that's the plugs. So what do you say we get into, I guess, our first little indie romp in the Americas? Ricky, you watched some Beyond Wrestling, or at least Wrestling Open. Well, what's the standout match?
Well, the standout match from Wrestling Open was Dustin Waller versus Lio Rush. These two had a brush up in the GCW 6-man scramble that you were at, I think, at FET Music Hall, I think.
Yes.
So apparently ever since then, Lio Rush has wanted to get in the ring one-on-one with Dustin Waller, and finally they got their chance. This was fast, it was flippy, it was hard-hitting, and everything I wanted it to be from these two. Lio Rush did win, but cut a great promo at the end, putting Dustin Waller over. Also calling out Alec Price for a future match. But I loved this. I mean, I love Miracle Generation. I love Dustin Waller. So I might be a little biased, but I thought this was spectacular.
Yeah, I love Miracle Generation, what they're bringing. Them and C4, particularly Chung. They're like the three guys. Well, you know what? I'll put Above the Rest on there as well. I love those two guys.
Yes.
Okay. So that like group of five, I always go out of my way to watch their matches when I can. Right? It's like, it pops up. So there's a site called VK, right? And it's like it's a Russian conglomeration site, and there's some groups that just post all this stuff. And that's generally where I see all. It's just super simple. Even if I have access or an IWTV subscription, or I even have a Stardom World subscription, but everything in that one place is just so much easier. So I just end up watching so many things on there. But yeah,
sure.
Like that group of five is go out of your way, watch for the American Indies, and I just really enjoy their work. I think there's big things in their future if they stick with it. That's always the key.
Yep.
And the work Waller and those guys are putting in is very exciting to watch.
Sure. Yeah. So that was Wrestling Open number 56, January 26th. On January 20th, I went to the first Lucha Libre and Laughs show here in the Denver area, first one of the year. You've heard me talk about what the crowds are like for those shows, and this one was kind of weak, but the talent that they brought in for this month's show was spectacular. We had Royce Isaacs in a singles match against a local up-and-comer named Logan Austin. He's very young, very promising, very solid match. Then there was a 3-way match with one called Manders Austin Reddick and Hoodie Howlett, very fun. At one point, they sat down in the front row and they're drinking beers and slapping each other in the face.
Always a
silly
fun spot.
house.
No, that's always a fun spot in the live crowd audience.
Silly indie shit. That one's floating around on Twitter. If you go to the Lucha Libre Laugh Twitter, you can find some of these clips and some photos from the show. The title match for the men's title was Anaya, who was the reigning defending champion, versus Brian Keith. Fabulous stuff. I mean, Brian Keith is really on the rise on the scene, and Anaya is right behind him. I mean, he did retain his championship, but it was through some nefarious means. And I'm just looking forward to seeing these guys keep at it, whether or not this blossoms into more of a rivalry between these two that lingers, or, they go out and do their own things. Really looking forward to seeing what each of them do next. Most exciting thing that happened on that show, Heidi Howitzer won the women's title back, was in a 4-way match. Edith Surreal came into the match as the champion. The other participants were Rochelle Riveter and Trisha Dora, who I think it was her first time in Denver. So it was really exciting to see her. I wish it had been in a singles match, but these ladies still put on a phenomenal performance. But Heidi won the belt back and then announced that their promoter was allowing her to basically call her shot for her first title defense. And she announced that Maki Ito is coming to Denver for the April 7th show. So I couldn't purchase my tickets for that show fast enough. They had already announced that Effie and Warhorse would be here too. So April 7th in Denver at Lucha Libre and Laughs is just going to be a riot. Then the main event of that show was Dalton Castle with the boys, and he defeated Dak Draper. And that was just really it was a Dalton Castle match. It was everything you wanted it to be. So fun night. Again, the crowd wasn't the hottest that I've seen at those shows, but I had a blast.
I think the promotion's gaining some steam, at least in the indie fandom, because I even nothing retweeted by you or anything, but just in general in my timeline, I know Twitter's like this very small, looking glass group, but yeah, it's definitely an echo chamber. But you get a feel for some things that start to go a little bit viral or gain some attention, and it wasn't just the Manders kind of slap fight deal. It was kind of an all-around thing, and I think a lot of it has to do, at least in the indie sense, of Max the Impaler and Howitzer winning the TJPW tag titles,
yes.
And that has carried over at least some news over their way, and because they're, at least Heidi in this sense is in the Colorado scene, that there's at least some new eyeballs, and it's small amounts of exposure, but it's exposure nonetheless that they didn't have before.
I agree. I think them winning the TJPW title, tag titles, absolutely, you're right, has shown a light on them and the work that they're doing outside of TJPW. So the more attention Lucha Libre and Laughs gets, the more attention a lot of our really hardworking local competitors are getting. So if they get some spotlights, I'm all for it. Oh, I don't think I told you, though, that also they announced at that show that is their 10th anniversary, and they are lining up 2 nights of shows in June.
Ooh.
And apparently they're going to be stacked. So
who knows what that means?
Pretty great.
Should be good. A lot of fly-ins, I'd imagine.
I would assume so.
Let's we'll see how that turns out. Speaking of TJPW, since we brought it up, there was a match that went around, at least in the sense that this podcast audience will care about it and talk about it, and it got a visceral reaction from everybody. It was the Prestige. It was the Prestige main event between Athena defending the Ring of Honor title against Miyu Yamashita. It went 20 minutes. And I would, it started off a bit slow. Athena's really leaning into, she's really going to the indies and trying to practice and perfect her heel work. I think that's pretty clear as day. She's playing a cowardly heel a little bit, but not too much to slow a match down completely. She's doing things like yanking the ring apron out. She's jaw-jacking with fans and jaw-jacking referees. But once that kind of period's over at the start to kind of establish her, she does go into Athena mode, which I really enjoy her matches. And it was a little bit more grappling than usual because it's Miyu Yamashita kind of deal.
Sure. Yeah.
With Athena. And they leaned into kind of a striking battle. So I really enjoyed the work that they did. It's indie wrestling, so commentary is always like, you don't really... You almost don't want it sometimes because of how they operate, and the camera work is still kind of 2010 sometimes, if you catch my drift there.
So I really like the guy who does commentary for Prestige. He does solo, which is really interesting because most of these shows have 2 or 3 people. But speaking to the production, I just wanted to mention that, this venue is always really dark when they film there.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate for television. And also, I appreciate that they make sure we can hear the commentary, but what I don't appreciate is that it comes at the expense of muting the crowd.
Yes.
And it really bugs me with Prestige. Like, I'm sure I've never worked in live television production, and I know that there is a skill and an art to sound mixing. I feel like there's got to be a better way to do it where you can get the best of both.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it is indie wrestling after all. So I kind of put that in my side pocket and I go, all right, so how's the work? Is the match good? Is it doing its job to get me into it? I wish I could hear the crowd better. I mean, it's not like it's AAA where they got AAA in Mexico where they got so much money to have this supposed production and they choose to fuck it up, essentially.
Sure.
So I'm watching it. I'm liking it. They're doing some good near falls. And then the finish happens. I'm kind of almost on that 3 out of 3. I'm almost there. I'm almost, for Big Dave Star territory. And then this finish occurs. And normally, I heard about it and I go, okay, I'll give it a chance. Maybe it's just essentially they do the dusty finish. Okay. Babyface wins and then they reverse the call and then the heel gets their heat back. I'm like, okay, I've seen this a million times. I want to see how they execute it. Because if it's executed fine, then I was just going to be like, okay, we got to play business here a little bit. Miyu Yamashita is heavily protected. It's not Maki Ito in there, who I expect Heidi Howitzer to beat come April. No problem. So there's always this sense of you got to protect Miyu Yamashita, the ace of the promotion, and then Athena's the Ring of Honor champion. So unless she's straight up losing on a prestige show, which I don't think anybody bought, but so I'm like, okay, business side, they got to try to get out of it. There's 2 problems with that. It's 2023, and people just want to see a good match, especially on the indie scene. No one cares these days. Everyone knows that they have this level of star power already. So Miyu Yamashita can be beat clean in the middle, no problem, on a prestige show to a champion in another company. But they're not going to do that. So what do? You could either not book the match, or you try to book your way out of it. It's very tough from a fan perspective because you want to see the match, but then you have to kind of be accepting of the finish because they're playing ball. There's a lot of work around there. So this finish happens, and this was I could not describe a more poorly executed way to get to where they did. It was so bad, and it's again indie. So we're when it comes to Athena and Miyu Yamashita, they're professionals. So this really reflected badly on the promotion and the booker of that who came up with the finish. because this is how it goes down. Yamashita hits the skull kick. Athena's at the ropes. Her foot's clearly under it, and the referee is looking right at it. And she goes ahead and does the 3 count, and it just goes all downhill from there.
Yeah.
So the referee's waving it off, and then commentary is still playing like she won, and then they get confused. It wasn't quick enough. You have people coming out from the back to congratulate. Kid fucking Bandit grabs the title, and Kid Bandit hands the title to Miyu Yamashita. So now she looks like an idiot for all this. The audience is like, what the fuck is going on? There's just all this rambunctiousness going on, and now there's a tug of war with the title, with the ref and Miyu Yamashita, and it goes on forever. And I'm just watching this going.
That went on way too long.
Oh my god,
way,
it looked
way
ridiculous.
Too long. And I think that's Yamashita. Like, she should have just, tug it once, I'm going to hang on to it. Tug it twice, I'm going to hang on to it. Okay, third or fourth tug from the ref. That's when you let it go. And this went on for like 90 seconds. It was so awful. So there was clearly some sort of miscommunication there, lost in translation, whatever you want to call it. Either way, I thought everybody looked bad in this. And Athena's down forever selling the injury. She probably looked the best coming out of this, honestly. Because all she did was... and not to mention... The tug of war's over, and then the ref just kind of lays the belt next to Athena. Like, oh my god! Like hands it to her, basically. Yeah, I mean,
so I'm like, all right, what the fuck do you think's gonna happen? And then it goes into
how it's gonna work. Yeah,
and it goes into trope central with the ref turns her back. Hey, we got to restart them. Athena grabs the belt, clocks her out, and look, the ref is right there. 1, 2, 3, it's over. I'm like, 1 out of 3 recommendation. Yeah. Fuck that finish.
Yeah. Really unfortunate. I mean, and I think that prestige ref is very good for, on the indie scene. I think
not her best match.
But it wasn't entirely her fault either. Like, that's what she was told to do. Carried it out. So
it was poorly planned and poorly executed. It was really bad. It was really bad and disappointing.
Yep, sure was.
So the best we can hope for is now maybe on these fabled Ring of Honor television tapings, we can get a rematch main event on ROH TV. Hopefully.
Would love that. I would love that. I think it's definitely set up because of the wonky finish, so it leaves it open-ended.
Hope so. But these things that happen on the indies, rarely do they ever work out. So we went forever on that. I was so ready. Like I said, I was so ready to get to that 3 out of 3 territory. And then it ends up dropping down a full 1.5 basically.
Right.
So bummer. Okay. International Roundup. You ready?
Ready. Where are we going?
Okay. So first we're going to Dragongate out in Kobe Sambo Hall. All right. And this is the whole Dragongate review. I watched this entire show from Kobe. 374 people in attendance. Kind of brutal.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, January 22nd. And honestly, besides the just curiosity of how some of these rookies and sophomores are doing in the promotion, I keep saying this. These cards are so lifeless half the time. There's just not enough star power. There's not enough interest for me. And this is how I ended up feeling with DDT after a while. Is I just found myself watching main events, and then I just get tired of it, because what investment do I have to just watch a main event every 3 months? It's like, why bother? So I watched this Gold Class against Zebrats Triangle Gate title match. It's Ben K, BB Hulk, and Kota Minoura against the champions Ishin Kai and Shun Skywalker. And it ends in 18 minutes. BB Hulk and company win, so it goes into the BB Hulk change. I mean, it's fine. I mean, 2 out of 3 if I'm generous, but honestly, I am just not feeling this promotion right now. And it's not from anything they're doing bad per se. It's not like we're watching Mountain Dew advertisements in a ring. Nothing that bad. But it's just too much singular matches and then a bunch of just nothing tags underneath it. It's just it's too much non-inspiring cards. And I think they really need to change that a lot. There's not enough charisma in this promotion right now. There's a lot of heels. There's a lot of cocky heels. I just don't have a lot of people to root for. I don't have a lot of investment in where they're going. There's a lot missing for me. And, you know, I continue to watch Dragongate monthly, but we're getting to that point where we got to step on the gas with these guys. There's too many people on excursion. There's too many people kind of spinning wheels half the time. There's not enough momentum with where each of these guys are going. It seems like they're concerned with other aspects that kind of doesn't affect the fans. And that's not what I enjoy. So there's your Dragongate.
I feel like Shun Skywalker, though, is gaining momentum and traction or attention outside of DDT, though. I'm hearing his name, I'm just hearing his name more often. So that's good.
Well, he did win the title a couple weeks ago, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so you're familiar with the promotion Noah and the Great Muto.
Yes, I am familiar.
All right. Did you catch any of this Yokohama show, or at least the Darby Allin main event with Sting and Great Muta?
It was on my list to watch, and I didn't get to it. I was planning on at least watching the Muta match, but I didn't get to it.
All right. So I generally watch maybe 1 or 2 Noah shows a year just to like check in. So I'm like, all right, Darby Allin Sting's on this. Everybody's going to be talking about it. And there was even the first ever women's match on a Noah show in the undercard.
Oh, okay.
I mean, enjoyable, I guess. Jungle Kiona Sariano taking on and defeating Maya Yuki and Natsu Sumire. I don't know how Natsu Sumire got roped into this match. She grifted her way into something. It was pretty incredible. They went almost 14 minutes, but really it was like a standard tag. There was kind of nothing special about it. It's not like they went all out for 14 minutes. Well, they even got lost at one point with Natsu Sumire because she's not like the best worker in the world. But the big news coming out of that is when they were backstage cutting a little post-match commentary promo deal. Jungle Kiona kind of brings up, well, New Japan has a women's belt now. What if Noah has a women's belt? And then that got the Joshi world talking. And, you know, nothing screams New Japan envy more than Noah. Like they created the N1, and now they're talking about, you know, in the works of a GHC women's title and all these things. And, you know, I'm not buying it for a second. But the sad truth is the Joshi indie scene is so dire since over the last few years. Every promotion's gone down, lost momentum. People have left. There's a lot of freelancers. There was the Nomads venture that totally failed last year. They haven't run a show since. Nanai Takahashi got a win in the main event after falling in her finisher. It was disaster. So Jungle Kiona comes back here. Sariano's the Ice Ribbon champion, and we just have these people not being used. And because the sad truth of the Joshi indie scene being in the state it is, and they basically just don't try to make new stars ever or utilize people ever, that let's hypothetically say Noah tries to be a 0-1 and have a women's division. Is Noah, like, if Noah books these women into matches like this in the undercard and maybe have a title for them to fight over, it's not the worst scenario, but it's really an indictment of the scene to get to this point where we're talking about, oh yeah, maybe Noah could have a women's division and you have one match a show and in front of like 500 people at Corkin Hall. That's a lot more than a lot of these promotions are drawing these days, unfortunately. That's the state that they're in, and it's a sad reality that this is the like positive outlook. It's that sort of commentary that's a very sad truth. Okay. So that's the women's match. I kind of went on a tangent there. But the rest of the card, like, it just felt like typical Noah stuff. Not anything was really popping off the page to me. Amoxka, he's gaining a little momentum, but look, he's a Noah Junior. The junior division in Noah just doesn't work out ever. So get to the main event, and I'm like, all right, finally some star power. I watched the Muta Shinsuke Nakamura match, and then there's this one, Darby Allin, Muta, and Sting taking on Akira, Hakushi, or Jinsei Shinzaki, and Marufuji. Everyone's in their like face paint and whatnot, so it goes 22 minutes. It's a lot of old people kind of romping around. Very tough to watch them like even move faster than a walk. At least Hakushi did his so there was quite a lot of Muta and Hakushi doing their when was that match? There was a Wrestle Kingdom, or not Wrestle, a Tokyo Dome match between these two in like, I want to say like 95, where Muta and Hakushi bled buckets, and Hakushi did the same bump where he gets knocked off the apron, flies over the guardrail, and hits the desk. This dude's like 56, and he's pulling that off. But besides that, it was a lot of people just not moving. Darby Allin trying his best to bump and do shit with Akira, who honestly looked the second best in the match. I mean, it's a spectacle. It's what I've accepted, that with Noah's just high end production, that you're going to get good cameras, good production, lots of theatrics, and then that bell rings and I go, ugh. So, big spectacle. Darby was pushing Great Muta in a wheelchair backstage after the show. Oh. Being called Young Boy.
I saw that because people are using that as a new meme template, like the "Sure, Grandpa, let's get you to bed" meme.
Oh yeah, like Muta's fucking done. Like this guy, like I thought this dude was done in like I've watched a lot of his work in the 90s in New Japan, and the dude perpetually like falls apart in like 1997. So for the better part of like 20 years, this dude has just been on roller skates just trying to run.
Got it.
So big spot for Darby. He seemed to get over pretty well in Japan. Maybe he'll be back.
Good.
Who knows?
Okay. I'll check it out.
Yeah. The show drew like 8,500 people, so that's good.
Well, right? Yeah.
It was like 9,000 on the January 1st show when all the holidays were happening. So, the final bye-bye is working for Noah. Now, if you look past what Muto's not on, then these Noah shows are doing like trash can numbers. It's very it's going to be quite the revelation for people that are saying like Noah's promotion of the year right now, and everyone's looking towards that Tokyo Dome show around the Great Muta and Muto, and it's going to be a hard case of reality of what this promotion is, I think, post Muto Tokyo Dome. Big matches booked for there, at least. Okay, now for the big reveal. I watched a ton of CMLL from Mexico.
Okay.
I haven't watched this promotion to this extent since like 2018, 2019. Definitely pre-pandemic. Okay. And they had a big exodus of a lot of talent. Hell, even Negro Casas made the jump to AAA recently with his wife, Dallas, who is a very jacked woman that has wrestled in Ice Ribbon, of all places. Okay. So they've really been on. I checked in with them about midway last year and a few more shows, and they've really been pushing Atlantis Jr. Okay. And then Mystico came back to the promotion a couple of years ago. He's been dying to have some sort of big mask or hair match. And they recently had a big match of the year contender between Rocky Romero and Volador Jr. Yes. I love me some Volador Jr. I'm a big Barbaro Cavanario fan. I always went out of my way to watch his matches, but he blew out like one knee. I think he had complications and blew out another, so he's He's still doing some things, but the dude's gotten a little, I'll say it, he's gotten a little fat and slow. I didn't see him on many cards, but
All right.
I essentially watched every one of these CMLL shows that have made tape, especially the Arena Mexico City shows.
Hmm.
So instead of going through kind of all of the various storylines they're trying to do between Templario and Soberano Jr., Volador Jr. is in the midst of, it looks like, building up a hair match between somebody, whether that's Mystico, who's been dying for one, or Rocky Romero is there. The number one match to go out and see is the Rocky Romero Volador Jr. Welterweight title match. From, it's like January 20th, I believe, is the date.
Okay.
Yes. Full 3 easy. It's excellent stuff. The crowd is like nuclear for everything these guys do. Volador is so fucking fast. He's still got it. It's incredible. And Rocky Romero plays just this perfect dick heel. So this is the way the story goes. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so they have a tag match, Rocky and Volador, against Mystico and, God, what was the name? It was like Azura or somebody. Let me see if I can find it. Averno. Okay, Averno. He's kind of old. It's a 2 out of 3 falls match. It takes place after this pretty good Euphoria Hechisario match. They're part of this heel faction called like Los Infernales. It's like Infernos. Kind of 2 guys on the older side, but they just really worked their ass off in this 2 out of 3 falls match. I went 2 out of 3 on the Euphoria Hechisario match, by the way. That's my number 3 recommended match. So in the main event, it's Rocky Romero teaming with Volador against Averno and Mystico. And Mystico is doing pelvic hip thrusts. He's dancing around. The crowd's going crazy for the guy. Averno's a perfect little base for Rocky and Volador. And as Rocky and Volador like kind of start losing this match and the momentum, Rocky, like the big moment is Rocky's on the ramp and Volador is pissed off. And he just kind of shoulder bumps Rocky out of his way and gets in the ring. And Rocky, the camera sticks on him, and you see him looking at him. He's like, "What the fuck, dude? That was dicketry." So Volador's talking shit in the ring. Oh yeah, and Rocky Romero's like, "No, dude." He's getting in like Averno's face, and Volador's going after Mystico and going after his mask and everything. But then as soon as Rocky is still in the ring, Volador pushes and shoves him out of the way, and it's all downhill from there with their little relationship. And they end up having an impromptu match against each other afterwards, and Rocky pins his ass in 2 minutes. So that sets up the title match, in which Rocky ends up winning. Just an excellent match. Like, very good. You can find it on YouTube. You can find all these shows basically on YouTube for free, except the pay-per-views that they run. They had a couple in January. But there's ways to find those because they don't archive or anything. So Rocky pins him. Or I'm sorry, he taps him out with a flying armbar off the top rope. A rad. Okay. So Volador has lost this match and lost the title. And Rocky proceeds to cut this entire promo in Spanish in the most like heel fashion. He's just pompous. He's cocky. I just took your belt, kind of attitude. And Volador's sitting on the ground, and he's looking at him, and he's going, "I want my rematch. I'll put my hair on the line." And Rocky Romero says in Spanish, essentially, "Fuck off," and then tells him in English, "I'm not putting my hair on the line. You have to beat me first, cabron." And he's like, "Fuck you." And I was just dying. I'm like, yes, this is so good. So Rocky Romero, Volador Jr., the whole little tandem there, so good. And then just, let's see, I have a couple more. The Soberano Templario match, the Lightning match was really, really good. Just top-end Lucha Libre stuff. Templario was also in a trios match with, I have it here, Gran Guerrero and Hijo del Villano 3 against Atlantis Jr., this fat old man Valiente and Volador Jr. So there's a lot of, I think you get the idea of who to kind of pay attention to if you check out some CMLL right now. This is going to be a promotion I follow throughout the year. I dropped WXW last year.
Okay.
I'm looking for one to kind of replace that in my free time. What can I watch like casually on like a Friday night or something before bowling? And CMLL is going to be that promotion. I've really enjoyed it. I'm really into this Volador Rocky Romero story. Atlantis Jr. and Mystico are kind of there, and then this Guerrero heel group. They're like shitbag big heavies. And all they do is do the raise the roof things, and they get so much heat from the crowd. And I'm like, these guys are like no good, but they're so big and strong that they just punt these flying luchadors out of the air all the time. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, as it turns out, I'm actually going to be at the CMLL World Welterweight Championship match. As we sit here record, we are 4 days away from the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, which I will be on board for. And Jericho announced, I think just yesterday, that Rocky Romero will be defending his title, CMLL title, against Yuya Uemura on the boat.
That should be cool. You got to tell me how that match is.
If I'm sober enough to remember it, I will tell you.
I hope so.
So
there's kind
I
of
usually, I have a couple drinks throughout the day, and I keep my head around about me for the wrestling. And then after 10 p.m., everything just goes to shit. Is basically what happens. But obviously looking forward to the cruise. There's just so much good stuff happening. I mean, I don't know. Do we want to talk about it? I don't know. We don't have to. I'm just excited.
Yeah, I mean, you're going on the cruise. I'm sure you'll have a lot to talk about when you get back.
Yeah, so let's recap it. I don't want to do too much of a foresight because honestly, so this will be my fourth one. I've been on every single one, and it's all been different. And every time I'm like, well, that had to have been the best one. It's going to be downhill, and they keep topping it. So, I can't wait to talk about it next time.
All right. I guess it's time to just kind of briefly go over the Royal Rumble. So I'm actually going to play a drop. That way people know where it is.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to play this sucker, and then we can talk about it. Okay, so WWE Royal Rumble, in which we were in a pool and someone won both men and women's.
Yeah, so after I did the drawing, I was like looking at interesting number pulls. There were two people in our pool who pulled the same numbers for both matches. Somebody pulled 22 for both, and I think somebody pulled 20 for both. Which I used an internet randomizer, so it was like totally random. And then my friend Heather, who won, hang on one sec.
Oh, hang on one sec. Okay.
Sorry, I had to sneeze.
Oh,
and then it didn't. And then it didn't come.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
So my friend Heather, who I know from the cruise, pulled I drew the women's rumble first, and she drew number 1, and then I drew the men's rumble, and she drew number 30. And I was like, oh, that's super interesting. Not expecting numbers 1 and number 30 to win. Obviously, I was just like, oh, that's a weird coincidence that she pulled 1 and 30, and then 1 and 30. And she won $300. So,
man, that's a payday.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so before I go on my rants over everything, what did you think? I mean, you came in WWE fan later. I'm not sure how many you've actually seen in your lifetime for Royal Rumbles, but what did you think of the show and the Rumbles themselves?
overall, the show was very mediocre.
Oh.
The Rumbles themselves were mediocre. They were better than last year.
Oh, last year was like straight awful. Yeah.
Exactly. That's not a hard feat to accomplish or a hard, or to climb or whatever the saying is. I thought the men's Rumble was, it felt fast. Every entry felt really fast, but it was a really long ramp. So they spent like half of their 90 seconds just getting to the ring.
Oh my God.
And then they do one spot and then that's it, right? I mean, there were parts of it that I enjoyed. I did enjoy Brock Lesnar only being in for like 3 minutes. That was cool, but there were no real surprises. The only people we didn't know were Booker T, Logan Paul. I think were the only two that hadn't been announced. I thought Cody coming in at 30 was incredibly anticlimactic. Now,
no kidding.
I did just hear today that he wasn't actually cleared to wrestle until like day of or maybe the day before. So obviously they didn't want him in the ring for 35 minutes, but you could have put him in at 22 or 27 or
I'm not buying the whole he wasn't cleared until the day of, because they announced him. Well, I guess never put anything past WWE, but they announced him on TV just weeks ago.
I know. So, I thought it was fine. But the men's match was fine. After the men's match was the Pitch Black match right after that?
Mountain Dew Pitch Black match was right after the men's Rumble, yeah.
Holy cow. This match looked like it took place in a roller rink. I mean, it was just blacklit. Like, that was what made it pitch black. And then it was just bad. And I really like LA Knight, and I really wanted this to be like a springboard for him into Stardom. And
God, no.
Was not. It was pretty crap.
Okay, so since you bring it up, I'll make my rant over the Pitch Black match.
Okay.
The crowd, as soon, like, they were super into the entrances because it's okay. The show, I think, WWE fans really enjoyed. Fair?
Yeah, I think so.
I think if you're a fan of the World Wrestling, formerly known as Federation product, you liked this show and what they brought and what they did for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. I am not into this product. I'm not into the presentation. I'm not into the 30 minutes of video packages and entrances before a fucking bell rings in between matches. I'm not into a 4-hour show with 4 matches on it. I'm not into half the wrestlers on this roster that have zero chance of winning anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm certainly not into community theater melodrama in which the payoff isn't going to be any sort of main event title match win or a satisfying conclusion to the biggest story the company has going. I vastly dislike that. Now, you put something like the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match in the blacklight dark that you'd get on a Saturday night bowling alley, with Bray Wyatt coming out and having just a nothing plunder match, essentially in the dark, where half the audience can't fucking see what's going on, with LA Knight with glow in the dark popcorn spilling out from a table spot that, like, who knows what the hell happened. And then it just ends, and then he inexplicably puts on a mask, and now he can't feel pain, and he's walking like Jason Voorhees, and LA Knight has a kendo stick lightsaber vibrator that he's touching him with, no effect, and you got Uncle Howdy's coming on the screen in multiple matches, and he leaps off the stage, completely misses, like it's not even close, and shit explodes and fire goes everywhere, and it's horrible. Like, like 2 years Bray Wyatt hasn't wrestled. 2 years. This fucker came back in October, and he's done nothing except talk to the tip your hat guy. And this was his match. This was the end result.
Best.
Bray Wyatt is one of the worst acts I've ever seen in my life. Not to mention, he looked like fucking Mantar coming out to the ring, which is a deep cut, I know. But he looked like that gimmick from the early 90s, which was horrible. Bray Wyatt is horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Every match he has is terrible. It's a gimmick cinematic nightmare, like literally nightmare, that nobody comes out of it looking good. It's always stupid. And it leads, and the TV is like an episode of Seinfeld where nothing happens and everyone goes, wow, that's so good.
The best take I saw last night was that this is from, I don't remember, some guy on Twitter said, WWE is for people who like the idea of wrestling, but don't actually like the wrestling part of wrestling.
Yeah, it's called Vince Russo.
Yeah. There are creative elements to this, but there is no actual wrestling.
I don't know. To be creative, the ideas have to actually work.
Fair point.
Point. I can come up with a square wheel that can go on a car. It's creative, right? Mm-hmm. No, it's stupid. Okay. So then we had the women's row. No, then we had Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair. They had just a nothing 7-minute bad match. Just totally nothing. And then Uncle Howdy came on the screen and Alexa made a face. So
I missed that.
Ooh. Women's Rumble. I'll get to my Rumble thoughts after. What'd you think of the Women's Rumble? Same deal?
Oh my God. This was not good. Not good. And the men's was like just okay. This was not good. There's 30 people in this match, right? And I think only like 4 people looked good in it. That is a problem.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That is a real problem. I was really happy to see Asuka back. She's brought back her old gimmick, which is just, I mean, her mask and her makeup was unbelievable, and I really hope she gets to continue that.
There were. I'm glad you brought that up. To me, there were 2 people on this entire show that I mean, there was like, there were others that wrestled pretty well and got their characters down, but there were 2 people that really stood out on the show to me, like above so many others, and that's Gunther and Asuka.
Oh my god, Gunther looked phenomenal.
Right.
And I just want to see him wrestle everybody now.
Oh, yeah. So the smartest things that they did was have Gunther and Sheamus beat each other up for essentially the entire Rumble, and then Gunther, exhausted and chopping and bleeding on his back and all kinds of things, really come
Gunther
out.
I put Gunther versus Sheamus from the Castle on my top 10 matches of the year. That's great stuff.
Yeah, it ended up getting the number 11 spot. So it was a good match last year.
And more of that. And Gunther just slapping the shit out of people. Hate calling him Gunther, by the way.
Oh, I hate it. Walter was good, but they wanted Gunther.
Gunther. Asuka, holy cow.
Yeah, she had the Kana paint on during her Joker days where she got real crazy. So that was cool. Of course, everyone's got to make like a goofy, funny face at her when she's doing it, and she's laughing. Look, the Women's Rumble had a good finish. All right, had a good finish. I don't know why it had to be Liv Morgan, but they're okay. You know what? I'll make my Rumble rants now. Okay.
Okay. I'm listening.
I think WWE is out of ideas for this thing completely. Okay, they have their formula. Okay. Of number 1 and 2, they have to start out this way and they last forever. Then there's a midpoint in which there's a midpoint in which they do something that builds up a side Mania match of some kind. Okay? In this case, it was Brock Lesnar comes out for fucking 3 minutes, throws out a few dudes, and then the person that's going to foil him is essentially next. And then kicked out. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Brock Lesnar every year, but it's always like that case. Mix in, there's a group of like 2 or 3 people that throw out a bunch of people together, and then whoever they're feuding with on Raw foils them, and then they eliminate each other, and we move on. Okay? Both of them had that. In this one, it was Judgment Day. In the women's one, it was Damage Control, and both led to Edge and Becky Lynch. So, we're done there. Then, of course, they have to have the big number 30 reveal. Okay? In the men's, it was Cody, who they completely ruined any sort of surprise by announcing him weeks ago, and then he just comes in, kicks Gunther in the balls, and wins. So, good babyface move there. The guy who got over during the entire match gets kicked in the nuts and loses. Yeah. And then in the women's, they totally fuck it up. They bring Nia Jax back. They hit her music before even the clock hits the gear, and they count it down anyways, and she comes out. And I can't tell you how many times on this show the crowd either reacted with, hey, or just boo to what was going on. You saw it in the Mountain Dew match when the lights went down and they realized what they were going to get. They got it with Nia Jax at the number 30. And then they're just not reacting to more than half the people come out. I recently watched the 1991 Royal Rumble. Just kind of threw it on in the background, and like the crowds are just reacting to everybody. And you can even go back to like 2015. People come out and everyone goes, "Yeah, all right. This person's coming out. I can't wait to watch him." And in this case, like nobody knows who half these people are anymore because they don't really show them ever, like do anything. It's all about these theatrics and moments. Can you tell I'm just not into this product at all?
I mean, it didn't take me long to get over it. I started watching wrestling in the summer of 2017, and I canceled my network subscription in the fall of 2018. That tells you, I mean...
Is Jim Beam good? Is pretty good on drinking at least?
Say that again?
Well, I'm into the Jim Beam lately, because they have all these different styles and flavors nowadays.
Okay.
I'm on this double oak barrel and put a couple ice cubes in it because it's not, a $60 bottle of bourbon or anything. But it's not bad. I'm quite into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes me excited to try some new whiskeys on the cruise.
Hey. Going a big Jim Beam tryout.
Interesting.
I don't like the Devil's Cut. I don't like that.
No, I've tried that one. I don't like that one.
I'm not a fan of the Devil's Cut. Not at all. So, and I guess that leads the main event. And look, WWE fans are really into the Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. And Sami Zayn is so good, he's over. And
I'm into it.
Okay.
I'm into it.
All good. I'm not into the whole community theater thing. It's like not where the story should go, in my opinion. Like it just seems off kilter for this guy who's wanted to be part of the group for so long. He keeps proving himself, and then for the end result to be he not only that, not only the end result, but he steps in to quote unquote save his I can't even say friend of 20 years because he's betrayed him so many times over.
Sure.
If you've seen any of the product at all, you go, Sammy, what the hell? Why should he mean anything to you?
Yeah.
But,
Well, I think what happened here is that this shifted from Sammy's story to Jey Uso's story.
And that's wrong. And we've been over the Jey Uso story. We've been over the Jimmy Uso. We've been through this all. They just keep recycling the same thing over and over again. And to me, it's not good storytelling. To the WWE fans, it is fine. Okay, I'm throwing.
It's good storytelling for WWE. Yes.
in between the Mountain Dew matches and this is definitely better. Like,
and I love Sammy and KO, and as long as they're doing decent work, I'm gonna probably pay attention to this because I love them and I wish they were in AEW.
Yeah, well, another problem is if the end result isn't the babyface beating the guy who's been torturing him for all these months, then you're wrong. Like, it's not right. And not even they believe it. The people want... they can't even pretend to want that, so they're like, oh, Sammy and KO are going to take on the Usos and win the tag titles. So there's a reason why...
Not what's going to happen. That's not what's happening. That is not what's happening. No. That is not what's happening. So Jay abandoned his family and sided with Sammy.
No.
Yes, that is what happened. And Jay and Jimmy still hold the tag titles. So it's going to... it's leading to Sammy versus Roman.
Watch what plays out.
One.
I'm telling you. Watch what plays out.
I don't trust them.
That's the thing.
I don't trust WWE to tell a story. But I trust that Sammy and the rest of those involved will do their best with what they're given.
That's one way to put it. But anyways, like, there was, the community theater after the match was longer than the match itself, and the match itself was like nothing. I just did not care about it.
Yes. I don't enjoy you calling it community theater. They are doing really good acting stuff. Sammy does these little facial movements.
He's good.
Like, and I think
there could be a good actor in community theater.
And I think Roman is doing well too. Not as good as Sammy, but
he makes a lot of grumpy faces.
Yeah, he does. But he's handsome, so he gets away with it.
Oh my god,
Sammy. He just does these little facial things that I'm just like, that is acting. The way he sat, I don't know if you watched. I think it was Raw this week. I just watched the scene where he was about to take a Samoan spike from Sokoa. He just like sat in the chair and like had accepted his fate, and he's doing great stuff. We don't need to linger on this topic though. It's all over the internet. I liked it.
I'm glad you liked it.
I didn't love the match because you're right, there wasn't much to it, but I am interested to see where it goes.
Okay. So that was the Royal Rumble. All right. I'll play. I will play. Do I want to play Shingo's music? Okada's? You know what? Naito. I'll play Naito. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, the New Japan. 1 hour into the show. Okay, so maybe we'll only go over this for a few minutes here, but did you watch the Yokohama Arena show with 5,500 people there?
5,500?
Yeah.
Huh?
Decent little turnout. They're not quite to the big extent that they used to be pre-pandemic, but they're gaining it back.
Yeah, I half watched it. It was like background for me. But I did pay attention to what was the one match that you told me to watch? Shingo.
Yeah, my boy
Takagi
Shingo.
Nakajima. Yeah.
If there's one guy on the Noah roster I do care about, that's Katsuhika Nakajima, despite his kind of tomfoolery attitude of puntiness. I love that match. It was hard hitting. It's exactly what I wanted. No surprise to me that Shingo went over. He is challenging for the title next month. I expected that. All I wanted was Shingo to lariat the piss out of this dude and Nakajima to be a cocky dickhead and kick him in the chest a bunch, and that's what I got. I'm not like a
No.
4.5 Big Dave star type scale there, but I'm 4.25, full 3.
Yeah, I thought it was a 4-star match. I did like the storytelling in the Okada tag match though too.
Oh, that's the huge takeaway from it. Absolutely, from this whole show is this angle that occurs between Okada and Kiyomiya. So Kiyomiya, and I love commentary throughout the show. Kevin Kelly is just burying Noah. He's burying You're just jealous you're not as over as Okada.
Right. But I mean, that's the story. I mean, he's doing a great job. I didn't know that was the story. I needed to be told.
Yeah, so Kiyomiya punts him in the face I believe it was Maeda and Riki Chosu in the 80s. I believe that's what I watched it for the podcast years ago. And so Okada just takes this not in stride and proceeds to try to kick this dude's ass. And Kiyomiya comes in, flies in with a drop kick right to his face. There's a boot mark on Okada's face when they hit backstage. The match is thrown out. It's one of the best DQ finishes I've seen in years. This is even better than the Momo Watanabe turn in Stardom, for sure. This really hypes up the Okada-Kiyomiya Tokyo Dome match at the Muto Bye-Bye Part
that's
63.
been announced? Oh, good.
Yeah, that was
good.
announced.
Okay.
The crowd just went nuts for that announcement. They're doing a little storyline where Okada's like, I don't accept this match, I'm not doing it, so they might even have a follow-up angle to reignite the match beforehand, which would be cool. So that was rad. It really does a lot for Kiyomiya, and it's possible that they do a 30-minute draw or another no contest, or Okada just pins him in the middle of the ring. Under no circumstances is Kiyomiya winning this match. No way.
No. No.
So I'm more curious of where they end up that isn't that. But good for him. Okada, he's the biggest star in Japan, without question. I'm sure we'll get a good match out of this. It's very exciting.
I'm looking forward to it.
As for the rest of the show, my issue is I just do not care about these Noah guys. I'm just not into them. So when I'm watching, go on.
That's why I was only half paying attention. Now, obviously, I could have paid more attention and then decided for myself if I should care. But I didn't care going in, and so I just decided not.
Yeah. Again, there's Tadasuke. There's Yohei, who's okay. They had their nice little matches. But, Manabu Soya, do not care. And then, so I'm all right, I hope this Naito Keno match is good. And honestly, I was bored to tears watching it, which is very disappointing. It was a 27-minute match. And they, for the first half of this match, they were just kind of laying around and playing around and not doing anything. So I left that Naito Keno main event extremely disappointed. I didn't even put it on a recommendation scale at all. So that was big disappointment. And of course, Muto hits the ring and challenges Naito for his final bye-bye match. Whose knees are going to explode first? I'm taking Muto.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's it. Did you watch that Shingo Great Okan KOPW match by chance? Or nah?
No, I didn't know about it.
Okay. It was fine.
Okay.
They did a little sumo karate gimmick deal. And ended with a pumping bomber and shit. So it was kind of funny.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
AE dubs. And you know what? I think it's only appropriate that I pull up Dem Boys. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should have had this queued up, but I did not. And that was my mistake. And now the computer's being slow. Devastating. Devastating. Briscoe's theme. Yeah, there's Reach for the Sky. There we go. Queuing it up. I gotta play it.
Okay.
There's just no way around it.
I know.
Ah, boy.
Alrighty. Reach for the sky indeed. Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe. Yeah, car accident, untimely passing. A lot of people have talked about it quite a lot. I've watched this dude since I discovered him back in, I would say, 2009. It just so happened I was watching like a random episode of like Ring of Honor or something while I was living in Germany. And it was just that's what I watched. And my first reaction to always these untimely wrestlers' deaths is to just start watching a bunch of their matches and appreciate the work that they've done and brought me entertainment. And you always feel for the family and all that. So the first match I watched was the Briscoes Young Bucks at Death Before Dishonor. I believe that was in 2018. I always regarded that, before this FTR trilogy and various other matches, I always regarded that as the best Briscoes match I've ever seen. Okay. And after that, with various friends and just other wrestling communities I'm in, everyone kind of started posting Briscoes matches. And what I found myself doing was watching a lot of their work in Japan that I've never seen before.
Great.
So that ranged from them winning the IWGP tag titles to their stuff in Noah, where they're facing like Kota Ibushi and I believe it was Marufuji. And I'm just like godsmacked that no matter what environment these dudes were in, they always gave 100%. They never took a night off, and the matches were always good and interesting. Go on.
Sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to piggyback on that thought because the first match that I went to was Mark versus Jay on the first Jericho cruise.
That was a singles match on the cruise?
It was a tournament match.
Oh, wow.
On the first cruise. I'll send you a link. It's on Honor Club. It might even be on YouTube. They did not need to go as hard as they went, or 1,800, 2,000 random cruise fans for something that they weren't even sure was going to be televised.
Right.
And it went so hard, and they beat the shit out of each other. They brought chairs into the ring. They're brothers. They're brothers. So yeah, talk about not ever taking it easy or taking a night off. I mean, there was no reason they went as hard as they did for this match. And it's a great, I'm just so happy to have that memory. That was the first time I had seen them wrestle.
Wow.
Was on the cruise. Maybe I'd seen glimpses of them on Ring of Honor because I only got into Bullet Club stuff with like the Bullet Club War and stuff is kind of when I first started watching wrestling. I didn't watch some indie stuff, and then the Jericho Omega Wrestle Kingdom match is what got me to watch New Japan. So Wrestle Kingdom, that was January of 2018, right? From there, I did explore some more Bullet Club stuff, and obviously they were wrestling in New Japan and Ring of Honor at the same time. So I don't know if I watched any Briscoe stuff before I was on the cruise, but it was definitely my first eye-opening Briscoe's experience, and I'm so grateful for it. I am so, so, so grateful for those memories.
Yeah, and there's been a number of podcasts that, and just a pouring outcry for the man. Clearly a changed man over past wrong deeds. This is why I always believe in, not just the innocent until proven guilty, but if you go out of your way to change yourself or at least prove it, then,
Yes.
everybody earns a second chance. That's, no one deserves shit in this world, but you got to earn it. And the best phrase going around is, honestly, the wrestling industry has failed the Briscoes. They really did. Where
Absolutely.
you find tons of people that have made much worse mistakes, and there's no remorse or no proof of remorse or no attempt at remorse, and they just get chance after chance. And it's not a fair world. It really isn't. And for it to take someone's death to get finally the end result that they should have had, 5-6 years ago, it's very sad that it had to get to this point. But that's I always preach this in reality is, why do we have to react after the deed's done? Why can't we preemptively react before we get to those points when it's so much easier and better? And it's a harsh truth of the world that I just really constantly just despise. And when it comes to the Briscoes, seeing that tribute match of Mark versus Jay Lethal, and Jay Lethal, he's got his allegation demons in his closet from 4 or 5 years ago at this point. But it's an innocent until proven guilty with me, until proven otherwise. Not everybody is fucking Alberto Del Rio where there's evidence and no remorse, right? And seeing Jay Lethal in tears, and I've always been a big Jay Lethal fan, so my fandom, I'll admit, does play into opinions as well. Everyone's does. You don't want to believe someone is a scumbag. You can't
help it. Right, yeah.
John Stockton is one of my childhood heroes, and he's like an anti-vax numbskull these days. But that doesn't change how I felt about him as a kid, right? So
I mean, look at Jericho and his wife. They are, well, at least she is a right-wing anti-vax conspiracy
right, and nothing
theorist.
drives me more nuts than guilty by association as well. I hate that. Just because anyways, that's side tangents for another day. But the point is, we got to the point where it took this point for someone like Mark Briscoe to even be given a chance, because he stuck by his brother, and there's still people in higher ups that never even offered him a shot.
Right. And that's what got me so sad when I heard the news, was that wrestling had failed them, and that they never got that chance. When he came out, Dynamite, for the Jay Lethal match, I was like, well, this is nice, but so many things that we never got because of that albatross hanging,
Yeah.
Right?
So I want to have the conversation right now, right here.
Okay.
And I did my research. I've done a lot of it.
Okay.
And it pertains to Hall of Fame. And I did this immediately upon his death. I'm like, I gotta think about his legacy. Let's just everyone copes differently, and this is how I cope.
Sure.
I cope with reminiscing of accomplishments. I did it with my grandfather's death, honestly, to relate to it. It's like, what did he do in his life that I can be proud of? He was an old man. He died essentially of natural causes. Luckily, not unlike a lot of my other grandparents. And I when I was up there speaking, I made a fucking New York Mets joke because I would hope it would make him laugh instead of being sad, right? So I'm looking at the Briscoes. It's like, what is their legacy? And despite never being on national television, because AEW wasn't around for the majority of their career, 90% of it, and they weren't allowed in WWE because no one's allowed a second chance unless you make the most money. I'm looking at Dana White, for example. Right?
Yep.
So, with the options given, did they make the most of it? And the answer was obvious. It was yes. They won titles all over the world in major companies, Noah, New Japan, Ring of Honor. They even made it to Impact at one point. They made it to AEW / Ring of Honor and put on one of the best trilogies you'll ever see in your lifetime, right? Not including the dog collar match, which was an all-timer, right?
Yeah.
Even though I like the first one more personally, for my personal taste. I even saw the second one live, and that's like the third best. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And that's at the tail end of their careers, okay?
Right.
Then you go back to like 10 years ago, and you're watching Steen and Generico in a ladder war against these two.
Oh, I watched that one.
And you're like, how can it get better? Oh, yeah, it did.
Right.
10 times over, many times over. It just seemed like when it came to the wrestling part, they could do no wrong as a team, and their singles runs were good too. Okay? Then, on top of it all, you have their countless rivalries and feuds among top talent in the industry of their eras. Kings of Wrestling. Anyone they faced in Noah at the time, from Kota Ibushi to Kenta and Marufuji, right? Then you had New Japan with the countless talents there. The Young Bucks in Ring of Honor. Kazarian and Daniels and Scorpio Sky in their ladder wars. They made wacky specialties. And then they were good promos to draw money and gain interest in any sort of show that they were on. There's been clips, there's been taglines, there's been playlists made of all their promos, and I found myself even watching a ton of their promos from the past. You can pick. I'm not done. You can pick.
Toys for Tots promo was my favorite one.
There's ones ranging from Terry Funk didn't need no mouthpiece or whatever it was.
Yes.
From Mark Briscoe having a shotgun go off in the back. He's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, these were characters, and they played them so well to the T. And, you know, I'm on record saying I thought the Hardy Boys were a Hall of Fame tag team with what they've done in the industry and what they've made. And honestly, the Briscoes I put above them. So, of course, I think they're Hall of Famers now.
Yep.
And I will be voting for them, assuming they are on the ballot next year.
It's amazing to consider how long they spent in the industry and how many people they interacted with, how many AEW and WWE and other folks were shaped by Briscoes. Having, you know, like everybody went through them at some point.
Okay. I guess it's a little too soon to see what's going to happen with Mark Briscoe. But if that Jay Lethal match is any indication, I can't wait to see more of the man. Would it be the worst thing in the world that they build him up to a big, like, all-Atlantic title match on pay-per-view? Something along those lines?
Yeah. No, yeah. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to, like, get him with a new tag partner, but you couldn't help watching that main event and think something's missing.
Right. When he came out with both belts, I mean, it broke me. I mean, I prepared, you know, I sat down with a box of tissues. I was ready, but I wasn't ready for that. I was not. Sobbed through the whole match.
All right.
And then immediately went back and watched it again.
So I'm going to play another drop here.
Grieve.
So I can, so we can kind of transition. Fair enough?
Okay. Yes.
Whew. Thank you, Hangman Page. All right, so top storylines and developments in AEW's heading into Revolution is our end goal here. We have On Dynamite, we're covering the Kia Forum show from LA with the not sold out show, but capacity 11,400. We got the Fresno, California show, headlined by the Darby Allin Kushida match. And then the Dynamite from Kentucky and the Rampage from Kentucky with a match worth talking about there. Obviously, the Kentucky one was headlined by Briscoe and Lethal. And just to kind of hit on the major storylines and thoughts, honestly, I don't really have anything like truly negative going on in AEW that I'm not into.
That's not clicking.
Yeah, it's I could take or leave like some things, like the Matt Hardy, Ethan Page stuff. I'm like, okay, I could push that off to the side, but like one thing every now and again that I'm not into, like it's harmless, right? With the grand scheme of things, when we're getting excellent Bryan Danielson matches on a weekly basis,
right,
along with this excellent Darby Allin TNT title run ever since he beat Samoa Joe, it's hard to really complain about what we're getting, along with what I think is one of the better storylines in wrestling, is the Hangman Page Jon Moxley story. This is like my kind of shit.
Yes.
So on that first show, we had Adam Page defeating Jon Moxley, and they're doing a concussion storyline on that Moxley got knocked out. Hasn't been seen since.
Right.
Hangman Page is doing interviews with Renee, the wife.
So good.
And it's getting like awkward and trying to be professional. And then we follow it up with like another one the next week. And Hangman Page is kind of getting annoyed, and then Wheeler Yuta walks up, and they have a match on Rampage, and Hangman Page has this edge to him, and then they just announce in Ohio they're going to have a third match. I love this shit. This is good.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah. Who do you think's going to win that? Moxley, right? In Ohio?
I think so. I think so. And then I think, Hangman is still repairing his relationships with the Elite. So maybe he'll fall back into that.
AEW does a lot of kind of in the back storylines, which I appreciate. Here's my thoughts. If we're going down prediction alley here.
Mm-hmm.
I think Moxley and Hangman are going to knock each other out in Ohio for a double count out, no contest. And they have the rubber match at Revolution.
Oh, yeah. I'm cool with that. That sounds good. That sounds real good.
We got the Jungle Hook tag team. That's interesting. Takeshita loses to Danielson. MJF cuts a promo on his ass beforehand. And then there's a beatdown, and Takeshita saves him, which leads to this Brian Cage match we're coming up on. Looks like it's finally going to be Takeshita's first big win on television. It's a long time coming to me. I'm excited for that. I'm very excited for this push of Takeshita finally. If there's anyone for an all-Olympic title, it's him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him win. I'm excited to see what the Don Callis angle is with Takeshita.
I need it. I need it.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Let's see. Not much in the JAS, Ricky Starks, and Andretti thing. They are putting it on TV every week. We are getting progression. I do like it. It's definitely like whatever you're into. It feels like it's second or third. I think it's taken a little backseat to the Darby Allin thing the last couple weeks, which I think is okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got about the Ricky Starks and Andretti thing with JAS?
I don't actually like it. I think Andretti is dragging Ricky down.
Ooh.
Making him look like a dork. And he was so over and so hot.
Interesting. So you think Andretti's not ready for the big time? Is that the deal?
Yeah, no, and I think he will be. I think Jericho was right in pointing at him and saying this guy's gonna be a star. He will be.
In the non-kayfabe sense?
Yeah, in the non-kayfabe sense, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Sorry. I just don't think. I just think he's dragging Ricky down.
Well, I mean, he did get clocked and cost him the tag match. So even in a non-kayfabe, or in the real sense. No, kayfabe sense. Whatever it means.
Yes, I know where you're going.
The Elites win the best of 7 De La Muerte over Death Triangle. Hell of a match.
Oh boy.
Let's see. Dave Meltzer gave that sucker 5 Big Dave stars. Kenny Omega's second 5-star match of the year.
Of the year. On January 11th.
Yeah.
11 days into the year, he has 2 5-star matches.
Yeah, no problem, right?
Right.
I didn't go that high, but I did love it.
I did too. I liked it. I thought the finish was great. Yeah. Well done. Good stuff.
So a story I've been really paying attention to, and I think I'm on the right track still with my blood and guts prediction from weeks ago.
The women.
Yeah. I sort of predicted that back in December, but I made it on audio a couple weeks ago beforehand. So we're not getting Monet, or at least not yet, if that's ever going to happen. Right. However, we did get the Storm and Saraya turn, particularly the week after when Toni Storm faced Willow Nightingale in a, it was all right. She pulled the tights and then they beat each other up. The Hikaru Shida factor is still interesting. She's kind of in the background. I love what they're doing with Saraya and Storm. They don't know where we've been. They don't know what we know. And Shida's like, what the fuck, bro?
Right.
And then you got Baker and Hayter are doing phenomenal work right now.
Yes, they are.
Hayter's really bringing it in the ring, and honestly, Britt Baker as like the second fiddle, as Jericho so bluntly put it on Rampage.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't need to be head over the head with it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. But Britt Baker as the hype woman, and I'll go back to that Toni Storm match against Hayter where she won the title, which led to the interference, and people were still popping for Hayter. This works because Hayter's already over. And then Baker is slowly on that turn and messing with Saraya and Storm as the heels. It's working, and I'm very into it. So I was wondering, okay, what are they going to do with like Ruby Soho? She's a big factor in this because she never really got the push in WWE, but she was certainly in WWE. Like. She was there longer than Toni Storm, at least on like the main roster visual aspect, and Toni Storm has more like indie cred and the Stardom cred and all that.
I think the story with Ruby is that even though she came from there, she was always lost. Right,
she's the runaway, so she's in between. So when they started playing into that a little bit more, I was brought back in. I just didn't like that Soho. I like the Soho Storm match itself. I thought was a little bit of a miss, especially with the Britt Baker hit the music and they're doing the WWE distraction finish kind of deal. I thought that was a big miss, at least in the match.
It was on purpose, though.
I know, but like Britt Baker's out of the match. She's selling, So a lot of people are trying to see like where TJ ends up, and I was like, I don't think it's that complicated.
No.
I think people are overthinking it because I'm like, well, the answer is like there already. All you have to do is look at the roster and go, well, Nyla Rose is an original and she's not busy. So she can just be thrown in on the OG side with Shida and
Rosa,
Baker and Thunder Rosa if she comes back ever. I mean, so there's that team, and then there's a host of WWE people. I mean, the JAS squad is right there. They are entertainers, right? It doesn't matter that Anna Jay is an OG. They're leaning into it.
That's the thing, though, is like, I feel like the way that they're shaping the women's story is actually now better than sports entertainers versus wrestlers.
Oh, I agree in that sense. But if they want to lean into Team WWE, it's pretty obvious who would like join that team.
Sure.
If you want to even do that, because there's still Athena, there's still Serena Deeb that could join that team, and they're already heels too.
Right.
So I don't think it's as complicated as people keep fantasy booking. I think it's the X Factor's Soho on which side she ends up, or any side at all.
Right.
Who's to say we can't have 3 teams in Blood and Guts? Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Or, yeah.
Right? Who says it has to be this 5-on-5? Anyways, I'm really into it. It's finally like this story that involves like a lot of women at once, and there's a lot of X Factors to contend with. We're getting these matches on Dynamite continue week to week, and then we got our Rampage type stuff with I really wish Jade Cargill would kind of break out of the Cargill universe.
Oof.
I think I think everyone's on their breaking point with her. We want to see something more. I mean, the real thing would be Cargill joins Team AEW. Like, that would be huge.
Oh, yeah.
And she's even cutting like interviews where, oh man, I can't wait for myself to bleed too. Like, why would you say that kind of situation?
Well, she's facing Velvet for her 50th match. So,
yeah. All right.
It could be the one, 49-1.
And I guess the last thing to talk about is Jamie Hayter defeats Emi Sakura in the main event of Rampage.
Mother of God. This match. Wowzers. It was so stiff, so fast, so dramatic. I mean, holy cow.
12 and a half minutes it went. They chopped the shit out of each other. And this is a point I wanted to make about Emi Sakura. Okay? Been watching her basically be AEW affiliated for 3 years now. Okay? She hasn't been on TV in like 2 years. Okay? Seems like a long time for a veteran of her caliber. But here's the thing. Emi Sakura came from a meme promotion, okay? Got to Move Choco Pro. It's what she invented. Ice Ribbon always has an essence of comedy to it. She herself, in her matches, has comedy to it. Well, over this last year, particularly 2022, and I've in a lot of my articles on the Patreon, with what Emi Sakura has been doing on Dark, she's clearly been developing this heel-esque character and heel-esque group and dropping all of the like Freddie Prinze gimmick and the We Will Rock You. She still kind of does it, to interact with the crowd, but she's not coming out like Freddie Mercury, okay? She even has new music now, okay? This has been a development for her to drop the meme stuff and become or at least take her style and make it into a TV Western audience style. And that's not easy to do for someone who's just done the same thing for like 25 years. Okay? Big props to her to really change so much aspects about her ring game, and her character to get this across to essentially a new audience that has no idea who she is or where they came from. Because I remember being at that Full Gear show where it was Emi Sakura against Riho. Not a lot of people knew anything. Right?
Okay.
It was just a women's match on the show, and everyone's like, "Oh, that was a pretty good match." Okay, I really loved it. I wish they would have done more with the story, but been over that. So now we got Emi Sakura, heel veteran. And even on commentary, we got Jericho and Excalibur really putting over all of her years and decades and accolades, making her something. And they just went out there and had a hell of a match. Everyone's red as shit coming out of it. Look like they've been through a war. We got Baker on the outside, not interfering.
Right.
Very important. She's got the Haterade, Gatorade sign that she took from someone in the crowd. She's holding it up.
Yeah.
We got May Saruga like bumping chests with Jamie Hayter. She's like half the size of her. Like, I love this. This was, if this is an indication, hopefully, of Emi Sakura on TV more often, then that's good for the women's division. And Jamie Hayter is on such a run that she's like, it started with Toni Storm, and now Jamie Hayter's really taking it up a notch with her performances and her making like this style of women's wrestling be new to the West. I think that's a huge step in the right direction. 3 out of 3 for the match, by the way.
Great. Phenomenal. Just great stuff. Just good stuff. Great stuff.
Okay. So we look ahead to Dynamite. We got Cargill Velvet. We have Hangman Moxley. We have Danielson against Tim Thatcher. That's something I could do without personally, but it works for the story. And then a number of other things. Exciting.
Looks scary. He looks scary.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dynamite coming up. Cruise coming up. Oh, lots to look forward to. Can't wait to talk all about it next time.
And I guess we'll see you next time, Ricky.
Yeah.
See ya. Alrighty, everybody. It is the Joshi section of this podcast episode, and we're going to keep it pretty short and simple today, as in this pre-Stardom section I like doing. It's going to be mostly a hodgepodge of kind of information and loose thoughts, but I do have some stats to go over. But first, what you heard was indeed the Nagisa Nozaki music, and she put out a video. The knee brace is off. She's in the ring taking bumps. So hopefully a quick return from here on out, and that'll at least spark some sort of main event that, at least in the case of Wave, has been desperately needing ever since she dropped the title. TJPW, guess I'll get them out of the way first. They're running their adorable little Max Heart tag tournament. Not the same fanfare that it got last year. The story kind of going on, I guess, in the fandom was the team of Miyamoto and Yuria Nagano got pretty far, as in they won a couple matches. At least Mocha did. And then they met 1 to Million and lost. And on the other side of the bracket was Daydream, the kind of returning champions deal, taking on Shoko and Hyper Misao. That tandem won over Daydream, so Miya Watanabe loses another tournament. Does that same fate... Is that same fate destined for Maki Ito and Miyu Yamashita? It wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me if Shoko, coming off this, her losing of the title, while both Yamashita and Maki Ito seem to have a lot more, I guess, booking interest for stateside, among other things. That is something I think is going under the radar, and what people are talking about is the future of TJPW is interesting for 2023. They're running a lot more ambitious events in the sense of higher capacity. Cheering has come back. We'll see what and who is kind of over the last 3 years. So it wouldn't, again, just going backwards, it wouldn't shock me if Shoko and Hyper Misao win this thing due to the scheduling. If you see how it's kind of playing out, post, I guess, March would be the thing. But Ito continues to take a lot of bookings inside the States, and so is Yamashita, and so is Yuka. Maybe Shoko is next. Maybe she just doesn't have the same interest that those other three do, which could be a reason. But to me, it's interesting that up until the point, and DDT made the same mistake with Takeshita, that it took DDT so long for them to pull the trigger in an ace of the promotion, in their case Takeshita, being booked to, quote-unquote, put someone over into the main event. Last year was Higuchi, and it took years and years for him to get to that point. It took a forced title vacation and then a tournament for them to finally pull the trigger on him. And if you've looked at DDT's numbers during... I'll admit it, DDT fans really enjoyed the Higuchi reign. He had some good matches, no doubt. But those numbers they've been pulling have not been good. Maybe we'll see a little bounce back. But in that DDT world, Higuchi's lost the title as fans cheering has returned. So the point I'm making in terms of the Tooge is Mizuki, for all intents and purposes, is slated to win this title at Grand Princess over Yuka. Yuka, a much shorter reign, a couple defenses in between. She's going to America. She's going to probably face Athena for the ROH title, whom is doing phenomenal work on Dark and Elevation. But if the plan for those three, Ito, Yamashita, and Yuka, is to do extended stays stateside, and fans aren't dumb, and I'm going to talk about fans not being dumb when I get to the Stardom section. When you have made it clear that your popular stars and your main event stars have made it very clear that they are not long for this promotion anymore, at least in the scheduling sense, then when they take the eventual fall to put someone over, in this case, Yuka losing to Mizuki in her first TJPW title reign, the fans are going to see, they're going to recognize that it's just a scheduling decision. They're just working around it, and Mizuki is going to be the one on the house shows, and the outlook doesn't look good from that perspective, that you're leaving the not main eventers. You're putting a burden on that roster. And the more I started thinking about it, the more you get these three kind of off shows, the more you tend to notice that TJPW seems to have quite the depth issue with that. You got Mizuki, who's slated for her title reign. We're all assuming that she's going to win because of the outlook, what's going on. And then who's she going to face? And it sure seems that the answer lies somewhere in between some mid-carders that you might finally give this chance for them to get in the main events, which is a good thing, but should have been done, scheduled off and on over the course of the year, much like what Stardom does, and outsiders. By outsiders, I mean kind of foreigners. They're not doing freelancers or the like from the Joshi in Japan. They're doing like Marvelous did with Queen Aminata at the end of the year, just having a title match right there. It's going to be interesting to see how the fandom of TJPW, at least domestically, will react to this upcoming assumed title run. All right. Let's talk about some statistics here, because January was a very, very slow month. I'm looking at it, that includes Stardom. They've been very concentrating on the Triangle Derby and more focused on those stories rather than putting on like a big main event involving, say Utami and Shuri type people duking it out and leading to one of them kind of in the end game of these matches. Well, TJPW had the most. I think that goes without saying. They had 2 shows over 300. And if you're new to this or catching up, I base attendance tracking on the shows that garner attendances over 300. I think that's a good indication over how much the show drew interest, and it's a very bottom baseline marker for promotions. But there's something about that 300 line that's tough for a lot of Joshi promotions to consistently get over. And in the month of January here, TJPW obviously had their January 4th show, which got 1,111 people. And then they also had a nice little show in the middle there. They got 310, so they got 1,421 for the month. And then there were only 2 other promotions. I'll count a third for fun, because I did last year. 2 other promotions that had shows crack that 300 mark. Wave had their early January show with the Karoshita match, get 353 during that huge holiday period. And then, surprisingly, this Diana show that took place on January 21st. They just happened to run this Kawasaki Arena here. So not in Tokyo. Very, very interesting that when Tokyo was kind of burned out from the holidays and they kind of got out to the Kanagawa area, Diana got a 532 attendance. Could they have inflated that? You never discount it with the mentality of who runs these particular promotions. I'm looking at Oz Academy as my prime offender here. But it had a lot of indie-type people of the area, had some deathmatch guys. It had Jaguar Yokota and Asha Kong and Kyoko Inoue kind of scattered throughout the card. But again, they had Unagi Sayaka kind of in the mid-card in a big singles match against one of their rookies. And in the main event was a tag title match, which, look, we can say this is what I want to see more often from promotions is let's get these titles defended in interesting matches. And it kind of surprised me, actually, that they got to this 500 number, because the main event was Takase and Umasaki, the Luminous team, who in the Diana-verse seems to be a popular act, and they're against the home stalwart that is Ayaka Sato, teaming with, hey, Pure J's own Hanaka Nakamori. Went 19 minutes. I was not able to find this match. I was quite interested because, as you know, this is a Pure J podcast now. I'll get to Pure J in a second. I'll even do a lot of plugs for Pure J. So good on Diana having the second highest attendance for Joshi in the month. Oz Academy and Ice Ribbon very low. Seed ran a Shinkiba first ring show. They're kind of building up to what looks to be a JWP light show, if I say so myself. You got Nakamori on the card, I believe. You got Aris Nakajima in the main event defending against a fresh talent. So there's I guess I'm watching some Seedling. They have a lot of work to do this year. A lot of these promotions do. I already spoke about what's going on with the GHC little title thing in Noah with putting out Joshi matches and women's matches, but where I'll get to next is Iroha is returning to the ring. Could be February, could be March. She has to undergo another physical. I think she's going to Barcelona to that same promotion that like Maiki and Yamashita ended up in, so they're just bringing in talent to face Nightshade, the champion. So, don't think I'll be checking out that one. But Unagi is going to face her on the way back. So, Unagi is an interesting case because when she looks totally out of Stardom now. She's done. She's going to be in the Queen of Indies over on the West Coast in America. She's seems to be on every single Marvelous show they're running. And speaking of Marvelous, Rin Katakura announced effectively her retirement. She got married. She's moving to Canada. I believe she'll be in Vancouver. I think. So she might I would say maybe once or twice a year she'll go back to Japan or something or another, and maybe she'll be a nice little special attraction on a Marvelous show. But yeah, Marvelous loses another. Aroha is still currently injured, so they're kind of relying on Unagi Sayaka to kind of have all the interest in this promotion right now with what she's doing. And of course, instead of setting up like a Mio Momono match or maybe a Chikayo Nagashima match that they can actually build towards a title, it's just nothing, and then Aroha's coming back. So we know what's going on there. Marvelous. Not my favorite thing ongoing, but the Unagi Sayaka case is quite interesting. In all these promotions she's showing up, they've already slotted her as this like goofy mid-carder, maybe even less, but because of her immense popularity, they can't just ignore her. So she pretty much forces their hand, interesting enough. I'll get the new blood. I'll get to Stardom new blood when I get to the Stardom section, of course. But so that's Diana. Pure J ran 3 shows since we last spoke, all at the dojo. And if you want to hear the in-depth Pure J reviews, we'll have their January 8th show and some of their better matches deeply covered over on the Patreon, over the Pure J Cast. That's patreon.com/redleaf retrocast. Pure J once a month with JPQ and myself. Very exciting to undergo that. But if you check out these shows, on January 15th, Asahi from Ice Ribbon took on Kreia. Very interesting young prospect match, if you will, over prospects of the future in their respective promotions. I even enjoyed the main event on that show, which was Nakamori teaming with Momotani, defeating the Leon Chi Ozura team. Momotani came down with like a strained leg muscle. She'll be out a month. So take that for what it's worth. I think she'll be fine. And then the Leon Kreia match from January 29th was also expectedly good, but for a dojo match, they really took it up a notch. So that was enjoyable. Definitely enjoyed the Pure J for the month of January. I think, honestly, I think it was my favorite promotion to watch, Joshi-wise, in the month of January, even over Stardom. It just, it was simple. They ran their 4 shows. I got a few good matches on it. I think the Stardom matches were more solid and more interesting, but in terms of, strangely enough, my investment in trying to just outlook to the future and what they're going to do, Stardom, I've just been waiting for the February 4th show, while Pure J, I'm interested in it on a show-to-show basis, if that makes sense. I honestly don't think that Pure J is better than Stardom right now. I just enjoyed what they put out a little bit more. My investment goggles were kind of locked in on Pure J there. So I do want to take to Sendai here before I end this miscellaneous section. But Sendai ran a show. It was the big show in Sendai, January 15th. Of course, no attendance announced. It looked like it was pretty good. Nice little attendance there outside in the Sendai, in the farmland, in the sticks. I don't think this was a very good show at all. I think the main event was okay. The undercard was with Sakura shtick, the 6-woman tag that was in the undercard. Saw the old guard going over the youngs. It's what you expect there. There was now with this there's this weird trend where they have to have these hardcore mixed tags scattered throughout various Joshi promotions and the like. Matsumoto and Kasai beat Mayumizaki and Takashi Sasaki. Very strange. And then probably the match of the night would be Team 200 kilograms defeating Mizunami and Unagi, but you know Mizunami wasn't going to take no fall here. And I believe this match was supposed to be a Chihiro Unagi singles match, so something happened there in the scheduling. But the match we're talking about and worth discussion would be the Veni, whom is the champion, in her first defense, taking on Mika Iwata. It went just under 14 minutes. Mika Iwata, 7 years into her career. This is her first ever singles title match in a main event. 7 years it took this woman, and I have always been a fan of Mika Iwata, and she has, over the last 4 years, just developed this reputation of just being a essential, just very good jobber. You know, and Takase kind of established herself as like a good contender for that in 2022, unfortunately. But Mika Iwata is there. So I was super interested to see what she is going to do in this match. Is she going to really take the bull by the horns and establish herself and essentially force Sendai's hand that she needs to be in main events more often? And unfortunately, with I would say the time that they were given, or at least that they made this match, that they did not accomplish that as a duo. I think Iwata and Asuka laid way too much into a little bit of goofy sitting around character work at the start of the match. They did a little limb working after that. And then we essentially had a 7-minute finishing stretch where they finally started to do things. So it oddly felt like in a 7-minute match when they got going. I know there's things, the feeling out period and the like, but the match just built very strange for me. I didn't feel like Iwata at any point in time, and I don't think anybody did, that she had any shot of winning at this thing. It's not Sendai's MO. The near falls were very weak, I thought. And I honestly, I thought Iwata's transitions, really getting into those big moves, were also pretty weak. Could this have been different under a cheering crowd and we get to actually see how the domestic crowd see it? Yeah, maybe. But I didn't really get to see what I wanted to see out of this match, and that was Iwata really taking the bull by the horns to just nail this match, and didn't get it. Asuka wins clean pretty easily. I thought it was a very one-sided match. I went 1 out of 3. Did not. It was disappointing. I thought it was pretty disappointing, and with the prospect that Chihiro Hashimoto is taking on Mirai at the February 4th show, Stardom, Chihiro's probably going to win that. And then they'll probably build to a Chihiro Shuri match at the big, Dream Slam sequel, we'll call it. That's when Chihiro will probably lose to Shuri. And then the pattern and precedent set is come April, Sendai's going to run a big show or during Golden Week, and Chihiro is going to defeat Venny for the title again. You can kind of see that path. Mark this down. Okay. Hope that informed some people, but I'm going to talk some Stardom here, and it's going to be short and sweet this time. So what drop am I going to do today? Yeah, why not? I do like this one a lot. Okay, everybody. Stardom. We got a few Triangle Derby shows to do. Won't do a complete preview of the February show that they've really built to the Taco Bell Supreme Crunchwrap fight going on. Obviously, we're all hyped for, I think, the top 2 matches on that show. Some of you could be more hyped for Chihiro Mirai. I know that's a big singles match that they've announced. But it's Momo Watanabe trying to dethrone Sai Kamitani for the Wonder title. Momo cutting promos that she'll probably vacate the title if she win it. Probably doesn't help the cause. That really lessened my belief that she'll win this title now. And then the topic of debate has actually what this Julia Suzuki build has been. There was a brief conversation in my Discord, in the Red Leaf Discord, about this build, and I heard it over on Stardom Quest as well. Alex and Dylan had a good conversation about it. When Suzu came into Julia's face, no, that sounded wrong. When Suzu came into Stardom and got in her face, they had a blood feud. That's what it was. It was you left me, you betrayed essentially Ice Ribbon without saying it in so many words. How dare you? This is disgusting. And all that build up to their 5-star Grand Prix match with the big draw. And now here we are. And Suzu's kind of stalking this woman. You know, after every match, Suzu gets in this ring, talks some shit, gets in her face. And Julia talks the shit back. And somewhere along this journey of shit talking, it's become this like sisterhood rivalry, more like, where they're referring to themselves. It's not just a senpai kohai student teacher blood feud type thing. Now it's their sisters. You know, the emotions that they feel is more family rivalry related. And does this kind of feud now build more for the domestic audience than the international audience? I think it's going to be hard to tell. And now with cheering that's going to be in this event, that's going to be, I think, a huge indication. Because the culture in Japan over the last 20 or so years has definitely, I would say, I guess softened would be. Buddy Max got a good feel for these things. He's got good tractions on the culture in Japan as well. Been described as soft. For a culture in Japan. And so instead of like a Chigusa Nagayo, Dump Matsumoto-esque blood feud going on, this battle of sisterhood and emotional, I don't even know the right word for that, but emotional focus is maybe that's more relatable to the domestic audience and to the audience that they're getting to these shows. I guess we'll see what the end result will be, at least in crowd interaction. The tickets are moving quite well for the show, is my understanding. I'm definitely looking forward to the show. A little worried about that tag title match, to be honest. I've already spoken about that in the past. But this main event and this Wonder title match is, I am very much locked in to see these results. Obviously, the Wonder title is almost a coin flip in my mind. Who's going to win? And then the main event has that appeal of curiosity over what it's going to be, and I don't doubt that it's going to be a very hard hitting match with the style of those two. I guess the other match to kind of pay attention to would be that Doi Darts-esque Mayu Iwatani gauntlet thing that she's got with like 5-minute limits and the like. It reminds me, weirdly enough, of like what Oz Academy's doing with doing Oz Academy pretty much has their entire schedule set through March, where they're going to do an old person tournament, which of course they've capped it. They've capped it with 10-minute time limits, over the top, 5-count knockouts. Like all of these old people that are grumpy and won't do jobs, it looks immediate like they're setting themselves up for a double elimination and how to do the least work possible. And then on the other end, they have an under 30 tournament, which involves like 4 people. all effective jobbers that are in Oz Academy. So just a baffling. It's such a baffling tournament. This produce company is so funny to me. What they do and what they're trying to garner interest. And what's sad is I bet you those shows do pretty well for all intents and purposes. That fandom, that Oz Academy group is they're a curious bunch. But back to Stardom. That Mayu Iwatani match is gonna be very wacky throughout that show. I think it'll probably be more in the undercard, but since the winner gets a title match of their choosing, I guess we'll find out where they go. But for this one, they released Shupro released a kind of most popular wrestler list, and Stardom was all over that thing. TJPW only had, I think, 2 people on it. Unagi was in the top 10, and then Sauriano was also in the top 10. And my kind of takeaway was that obviously a voting base for a magazine is niche in itself, but if you look at those kind of results and to see who's popular in those voting pools, I think it's obvious that they don't translate to ticket sales in the Joshi wrestling sense. I think we've already seen how like Okada and Great Muta and those kinds of guys do, but they're the biggest stars in the country, right? While on the flip side, people buying these magazines, they may like Sauriano and Unagi Sayaka, but it's not really translating to big time ticket sales, and and Ice Ribbon's, I think, a great example of that. While Unagi has popped some Diana numbers, she hasn't really popped numbers anywhere else she's gone. So her merch sale lines are certainly great. So that's good for her. So that's kind of why I brought up like when she initially kind of broke out of Stardom and had that little controversy that's going around over what she may have done. We were talking, we're like, man, it would be really smart of these promotions to actually treat Unagi as a, kind of main eventer, because God knows that these people need fresh main event talents to push. And with her popularity and her Stardom credit, that's what they need to do if they want to get some new fans and get some fans in those buildings. None of them did that. But before I go into New Blood, because that's going to be my focus here, the Triangle Derby remains my same opinion over it all. You're going to get some solid matches. I haven't had any great matches yet, by any means. Nothing's broken that 3 out of 3 recommendation scale. And because the investment seems to be a little bit lower for me, it's pretty hard to get that 1 out of 3 right now in the Triangle Derby. I have watched every show. I've watched every match. It's kind of just I'm playing a waiting game. I keep saying that. I keep going back. So, the table is very compact, so you can't really tell who's going to win until the last day. That's fine for a trios tournament. But one of the standout matches was Ami Sourei defeating Mai Sakurai in 10 minutes. I think this match was a great example of how far Mai Sakurai has come as a wrestler, how much she's improved. I think Club Venus still remains a big highlight on these shows, especially the rise of Mina Shirakawa and her confidence. There's an excellent sequence of events there with Momo Watanabe and Mina Shirakawa in a match where they're just going at each other, they're kicking. Mina Shirakawa and Momo, certainly, when they're in these tags and trios and the like, they don't look too different from each other. Like in how comfortable they are in the ring. I still think Momo Watanabe is a significantly better wrestler than Mina Shirakawa, but in the sense of the environment they're in, I'm pretty shocked about how much Mina Shirakawa has been able to have that confidence and that poise to meet someone on an even footing, even if it's Momo Watanabe or anyone else for that matter. So that really stuck out to me. Ami Sourei, of course, won that match against Mai Sakurai. And Ami Sourei, look, she's no joke. She's got a lot of potential. She's getting a lot of shine with this future Stardom title. She's still a big part of God's Eye. And, it's good seeing Inaba kind of come into this promotion every now and again as well. Hope to see more of her. Okay, New Blood 7. This is a big topic here. So it's their 7th one. Once again, only 307 people left. So add that to the goofy Joshi stats that I'm keeping. But they would be in the 4th slot, the number 4 right now. I'm treating New Blood this year as its own deal. I'm not counting Showcase. That is such a different entity. I don't even know what to make of Showcase anymore. They've already ran out of ideas. I have no interest in that. I think the shows are bad. Go away, Showcase. But New Blood, I am at least fascinated. But them running these shows and getting 307 people is a testament to how cold the product is that they've really tried to do. Because I think there's something here. New Blood could be their NXT, right? And when they first started this, they were doing the Miyu Amasaki trial series with actual main eventers in Stardom. Let's call it the main roster talent. Mayu, Tam, Julia, and the like. You get the idea there. You know, they were showing up on these shows to help the outside talents kind of having their little matches and tryouts. And then you're going, well, JD, hold on. There was the big Nanai Takahashi Waka Tsukiyama match. That's exactly what we're talking about. Well, Nanai Takahashi has been the focus of these last couple New Blood shows, and they have their lowest attendance out of everything. So she is a non-factor in drawing this audience, okay? And fans aren't stupid. I mentioned this earlier. The New Blood product is the minor leagues, okay? It's the minor leagues, and hopefully these New Blood tag titles, along with the future title, is going to be a little bit of lifeblood to this brand, okay? Because they desperately need it. They desperately need some juice, and if over the next few months we see a further establishment of certain talent to be, I don't want to say exclusive to New Blood, maybe that's not the right word, but where they can actually hone some characters and skills. And that's why I'm not like really brushing off the Karma thing yet. It's not working with a lot of fans. It's very strange how Umasaki, without the Karma gimmick, can show up on the main roster, but then she's Karma here, all caps Karma, that I constantly write as like Awesome Kong's WWE character run. But the New Blood brand needs to either build up their own credibility to get fans back, or they need the Julias and the Shuris and company to kind of cycle out their appearances. Because they clearly are the difference between 1 to 200 people getting into these Takanobaba arenas, okay, the Bell Salls. And with the announcement that they're going to run Yokohama Arena, like on that weekend, I'm sure they got like some package deal or with the product as cold as as New Blood is. I think that's a little insane to try and do. So this is great. I love this. So back in that arena, that's where the Sakushi retirement show was. And I think they got, let's see, I actually have that. Hold on. Ice Ribbon at that show got, I think it was 700. No, they got 861 at that show last year for the Sakushi retirement. I think that's the floor that New Blood has to cross to be considered a success. You know, that 850 number. It needs to get there. And I honestly don't know if they're going to do that. It could be, we very well could have a scenario where because they've made the weekend an event to go to, that a lot of those fans that are in the area for the weekend also go to this Yokohama show for New Blood. That is a very good possibility, and if that's the trend that they're going to see, then it wouldn't shock me if they break 1,000, but it also wouldn't shock me with how cold this product is that it doesn't matter, and they're going to get below 850. So there's the thresholds of failure, good to a resounding success. Okay. The show itself, yeah, like I said, I thought this was maybe one of the best New Blood shows they've run. To me, I think they're establishing good connections and good chemistry here with it all. We had the Rena Moran match, which went 7 minutes. It's a nice little prospect match. I know it's a couple teenagers in the undercard. You got Marika Kobashi making her little Stardom-esque debut. A lot more personality and charisma than she showed in TJPW on her second run, so this was cool to see. She lost to Ruaka. You see a pattern here. Stardom goes over, baby. A lot of fans seem to like the at least emotional dynamic of Waka losing to Nanai Takahashi in a 12-minute match. Look, it's the perfect opponent for Nanai. That's why it worked. She doesn't have to sell. She doesn't have to bump. She's an eternal jobber, and she gets to pin her in the end clean, and then talk about passion and say you're essentially a loser jobber, but I can help you. Like, it's the Nanai story over the last 15 years. Yeah, it was fine. It was a fine little match. I actually didn't hate it. It is funny though. And then we had the rest of the New Blood tag title tournaments in the first round. Ami Sourei and Nanami, which was cool. I like this team. They defeated Momoko Hanazono and Momo Kogo. Look, Momoko Hanazono has potential. I saw it when I caught like one Kalega show, and then I'm like, okay, I got to pay attention to this woman. She looks like she has some potential here, and she does. And then she got the Bubble Girl gimmick, and now she's afraid to take chops by Ami Sourei. She's got good character work. It's just not the character work that's going to get you out of the undercard. But the double Momo team here was pretty good once they got past that. These Ami Sourei chops are just so mean. She's got big meat hooks on her, just punting people down. The Mai Sakurai Chan Yoda tag team. So Chan Yoda's back. Very notable that for a little while it looked like the German hair product wasn't going to allow Chan Yoda on those shows. Looks like Stardom kind of called their bluff. Bushi Road. It's like, hey, we want to book these people. They have potential. Look, who cares about their other shoot jobs or whatever? We got other sponsors. And they came back anyways. So we'll never know what the full story is and what actually happened. For all we know, it could just be being fed information to see if there's some online movement for Chan Yoda on these shows. And it's look, I in my own company, higher ups leak false information all the time to try to like test morale and all these wild things. But they defeated Hina and Lady C. Yeah, this was okay. It's it's Lady C in there. She's improved some, yeah, for sure. Hina, I think she's a little behind Rina and even Ruaka at this point. She's just not there enough. But I like this Mai Sakurai Chan Yoda team. Karma and SLK defeat the Club Venus duo of Maria May and Zaya Brookside. 12.5 minutes. Zaya Brookside, she don't got it, guys. She don't got it. She moves very slow. She's very ginger. She doesn't hit hard. She just does not work in this environment. She is an undercard talent. She is not made for the Japanese style. Now, Maria May, on the other hand, she moves fast. She's got a lot of charisma that she's showing. She's tall, so she of course towers over like everybody on the roster. And she hit. Look, she has proven herself to a lot of fandom's mind. While Zaya Brookside, despite much more experience, yes, she's a little better in the ring than she was prior. I mean, that's a low bar, but mix that in with her announcing that she's going to be gone from this tour like next week, and that impacts the Triangle Derby, that impacts Club Venus. I think the Zaya Brookside experiment's over. You gave it time, did not work. Adios, amigo. Maria May, let's keep her here. We got a spot available from Unagi. Why not? Let's go. And the main event, I went 2 out of 3 on this main event. It's God's Eye Mirai and Inaba defeating Hanan and Saida. 12 minutes. Hard-hitting, fast, lots of kicks, lots of lariats. Saida held her own against the much better people in the ring. And Hanan kind of felt like the fourth man in this match. And I think that's okay. Hanan, the more she grows, the more she ages, I think we'll start to see her kind of break out of her shell. We saw around this time Starlight Kid start to do that, so it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And oddly enough, Azumi still hasn't made, I don't think, a New Blood kind of match appearance, and maybe she's above it. I don't know, but Starlight Kid is on these shows, and they're kind of hand in hand. Okay, So there's my New Blood's thoughts. There's my Stardom thoughts. Get ready for that February 4th show. I'm excited for it. Hope you are too. I guess now it's time for All Japan Women. I got a special little long drop I'm going to play for that. Hopefully my computer doesn't freeze up on me. So here we go. All right, everybody. That was the theme music to the Zenjo, that is the AJW PlayStation game, and I actually played it the other day. Unlocked Akira Hokuto, let's go. But here we are, All Japan Women Destiny. We're back. We're back. It's been some time. It's episode 83 from Osaka Joe Hall. Capacity setup 9,600, at least what they were able to sell at the time. November 28th, 1993. This is part 1 of 2 of Wrestling Queendom from All Japan Women 93. This event was headlined not by the Aja Kong Eagle Sawai match for the 3WA title. It is still the Manami Toyota show and the All Pacific title that was vacated back at the end of summer by Akira Hokuto. We're finally here a few months later, where it's Toshio Yamada and Manami Toyota having a rematch of sorts. I don't think they had a singles match in the Grand Prix, so this could be their... I hope I'm right, but this could be their first match since their trilogy and the hair match against each other. So that's a big time match, but very interesting that Aja Kong on these major shows continues to not be the main event focus. I find that absolutely fascinating. So, like I said, this will be part 1 of 2, as we're sticking to the classics when available. And the classics, okay, so the Google Drive that the All Japan Women Classic was a part of has officially ended. So you can find the torrent sites that has all the episodes still. I have downloaded all the episodes and put them on a hard drive or 2. And I think I have a plan that over on the Daily Motion page, or at least on the Red Leaf Retrocast YouTube, I'll have like a locked link. That way it's not out in the public, because HAW will shut that shit down. But I think I'm just going to slowly just upload these episodes to at least Daily Motion over time. That way everyone has access to it. But I do have all these episodes. If you're keeping along, or you want to keep along, and you want these shows, I can make a temporary like Google Drive access, or at least a folder for a few episodes here and there. All you have to do is ask for them, send me a quick message, DM on Twitter, or message me on Twitter at BullyingJD, and I can get them to you in pretty quick time, I hope. So we go to the December 6th, 1993 Observer newsletter. It was actually quite difficult to find journalism coverage over AJW for this particular show. I found that interesting because a lot of the news is really focused on Akira Hokuto and building to a supposed hair match with Shinobu Kandori. These shows in general are drawing a great amount of fans, but not sold out level of fans. So here is what Mr. Dave Meltzer said in this Observer from 1993. All Japan Women attempted another major cross-promotional undertaking on November 28th in Osaka Castle Hall. Excuse me. Drawing 9,600 fans in the 15,000-seat building. The show was described to me by several as being not as good as either Dream Slam 1 or 2 or the August Budokan Hall show. I can agree with that so far. But still a very good show. A few negative notes. Osaka is the second largest city in Japan behind Tokyo, and the relationship between the two cities from Osaka residents' eyes is often one of jealousy, because Tokyo gets all the great concerts, all the great sporting events, etc., and with exception of New Japan, all the wrestling companies specifically cater to the Tokyo audience and run major shows there. Okay, I'll stop. I love how culturally this has impacted a lot of shows, and I gotta agree with Dave Meltzer here. He's absolutely right. When it comes to wrestling companies, and I'll point to Noah as a great example of this. They run Tokyo. They're a Tokyo-based company. They run Tokyo, and they put all of their biggest shows in the Tokyo area. When it comes to Osaka, Kyoto, and those types of places outside Tokyo, Dragongate for a long time is the better one, and they can draw in Tokyo too. But Kobe World is their big show, and that's where they draw the largest. So there is certainly a stigma within people, and you can even, right now, when it comes to a lot of Japanese promotions and wrestlers coming over from Japan, they always end up on the West Coast. Very rare do they end up on the East Coast, because obviously it's closer, shorter flight and all that, and America's a big country, but there's a real sense of East Coast versus West Coast mentality, and the same could be said here for Osaka versus Tokyo. So I'll continue here. All Japan Women announced both this card and the December 6th Tokyo Sumo Hall card simultaneously, and there was a strong feeling, even among those who attended, that Tokyo was getting the real blowout show, and which from the lineup does appear to be the case. Hence, the show came nowhere close to selling out. So there you go. Your stigma, and then just going, well, if I'm going to go to a real show, I'm going to go to the Tokyo one. In addition, the rep from Dream Slam cards carried over. The card lasted 4 hours, 40 minutes, started 3 p.m. Sunday afternoon, ended at 7:40 at night. While the super hardcore fans love the 5-6 hour marathons and 4 and 5-star matches like Dream Slam 1 and 2, it is hard for most people to sit still for that long, no matter how exciting the action is in front of them. AEW is finding that out quite a lot these days. But oddly enough, WWE doesn't seem to have that issue when they run 4+ hour shows. Lots of fans, for that reason, didn't even show up until 4:30. So that's an hour and a half into the show. And most reports are the best match was a Captain's Fall Survival Elimination match, in which it was All Japan versus JWP. Captain's Fall rules in Japan are that in 6 or 8 and 10-man tags, each team picks a captain, and the match can only end when one captain pins another. So this had a twist in the elimination rules. However, it also had rules that the first team to win 3 falls could also win the match, which apparently was done to allow JWP to win without Akira Hokuto having to do a job on the show. Since she's in a major match coming up against Shinobu Kandori. So there you go. The rest is a complete rundown over the show and various star ratings and the like. So, interesting to note. I love the cultural aspect of that, of Osaka versus Tokyo, which is why I really wanted to bring that up on this particular episode in this half. And let's get into the first match on this show, which is, and I'm not going by the card order. I'm going by the way the classics have it ordered. So the first match is Harley Saito versus Chikako Shiratori. So Harley Saito from LLPW. She is, well, if you want to hear the LLPW reviews over on the Patreon, you can learn a lot about Harley Saito, and much recently over on the latest show that I covered, I really talked about Harley Saito not being a main eventer in LLPW yet, despite a lot of her, let's call it, excursions to AJW and getting a lot of these fans. Well, here she is against an undercarder in AJW, Chikako Shiratori, beautiful looking woman. She beats her ass and pins her in 2 minutes. It is an absolute squash. Harley Saito doesn't even break a sweat. When she pins her, she gets up and she's like, whew, all right, I'm all warmed up. And that's it. So not much going on there. And we move on to Kaoru Ito and Saki Hasegawa taking on Yasha Kurenai and Futagami. All right. So this is the Japanese tag title match. Okay. And despite what Cage Match says or anything, it is Futagami. It is not Carol Midori in this match. This was pretty good, actually. Big Dave went 3.5 stars in the Observer newsletter. The match went 16.5 minutes. It was a trek, but you give me a match with Saki Hasegawa right now, and I'm pretty much all in. All she does is get in there. She builds up to trying to do a jumping heel kick to someone's head off, and doing Uranagi slams where she just punts someone on the back of their neck and folds them in half. It rules. Futagami was an absolute non-factor in this match, so a lot of this was the LLPW Yasha Kurenai trying to get this match together with her immense charisma, and she is not afraid to take those falls. So, and that's what ends up happening too, is Hasegawa and Ito essentially double team this woman, and it leads to Ito doing her just disgusting double foot stomp where it's an absolute shoot on everyone's stomach and ribs, and then Saki Hasegawa immediately picks this woman up and Uranagi's her right into the mat. 1, 2, 3. Again, not a bad match at all. I have a lot of negativity around Kaoru Ito in her style, and her Peter Pan look is an atrocity from the fashionista side of things. But Yasha Kurenai is she's a trip to watch. I love her, and Hasegawa is one of the upcoming stars. Between her and Hikari Fukuoka are like the two to pay attention to. Also on this show was, and I think, yeah, they definitely skipped this in the order, but it is Chaprito Asari against Mizuki Endo, which went 12 minutes 58 seconds. AJW Junior title. Big Dave gave this 4 stars. I think he's way too generous on this match. But the thing is about Chaprita Asari is she's a trip to watch. So Endo, she's improved over the last year or so. She's got size, power, and she's developed things like the Vader Bomb, and her mat game has greatly improved. So she's trying to keep Asari down. But when it comes to Asari, she's got 2 moves that's going to pop this crowd hard. She did a sick German suplex in this match, a big high angle, did not expect that. But she also did the handspring elbow that Great Muta does, but instead of the elbow, it's a drop kick going backwards. And the crowd pops for this hard. She does 2 in a row. And multiple teases of the Stardust press, the twisting moonsault press that she does. It's an incredible look, and anytime she teases, the crowd like gets to their feet. They react in stride, and Endo pulls this woman down multiple times, and they're all like, "Oh, come on, I want to see this move." And the end result is Asari does hit this move, but halfway through the twist, she kind of loses herself in the air. You see it with professional gymnasts when they don't quite rotate right, and they want to it's called spilling out of the move, so you can land yourself safely. So she doesn't do the full twist. She does like a quarter twist. So you still see the initial motion, and then it just totally stops in midair, and she does a splash. So didn't quite nail it this time around, but a surprisingly fun undercard match that I greatly enjoyed. And then we got the heavy hitters here, our two big quote-unquote main events of the Classic here. We got Aja Kong taking on Eagle Sawai. So, again, going back to the LLPW reviews, Eagle Sawai has been a pushed commodity and a protected commodity in LLPW, but they still haven't, at this time, really pulled the trigger on her. You know, she's not on Kandori's level. She's not even on Rumi Kazuma's level. She's more along the line of Norio Tateno, but Tateno's a grumpy veteran at this point who doesn't really take clean falls. Not every day, anyways. So Eagle Sawai was built up over multiple kind of LLPW versus AJW matchups, elimination style, and Eagle won one of them on the big AJW Cross LLPW show earlier in 93 here. So this was, and they did multiple tag teases of Aja Kong and Eagle kind of meeting each other in the ring. So they do have a little bit of teased history here. And who doesn't want to see these two animals just run at each other? And man, I did like this match a lot. I really did. Big Dave, it's not on Cage Match. I believe he went 3 3/4 on this. I think I'm right about that. But honestly, I think I'm like right there with him, because while this match wasn't dynamically exciting, it was still a it was a nice feature. So the beginning of the match is a lot of like shoulder blocks and them yelling at each other to go, and funny. So it's a spot we see all the time with like big wrestlers. They go off the ropes, run at each other, the other person doesn't fall. They go, all right, your turn, and they go hit the ropes. Well, in this match in 93, when they do that same sequence, the crowd erupts in laughter with Aja Kong telling Eagle to go do a shoulder block. No one falls. And then Eagle goes, okay, you do a shoulder block. And the the crowd is laughing so hard, and I'm laughing in the reaction to it. It's very entertaining. And then from there, it's there's not a lot of mat wrestling, and when there is, it was pretty okay, and it was short and sweet. And they just kind of throw lariats at each other for 18 minutes until Eagle just gets backdrop drivered a little too many times. They were doing a lot of that to each other. Eagle was able to tease a powerbomb to Aja Kong, not able to pull it off. So that was Eagle's weakness to Aja Kong, was not able to hit her usual power offense against her, which led to her loss. And it was a pretty simple, clean loss when you look at it. There wasn't a whole lot of near falls. Didn't really buy that Eagle was going to dethrone the champion in any capacity. And Aja Kong just kind of gets her with the Uriken, spinning back fist, and then drags her to the corner, and then just hits that backdrop off the top and squashes her. 18 minutes, Aja Kong retains. Again, good match, very solid. I mean, it's not blowing the doors off the place, and I'm sure when I mention, oh man, Wrestling Queendom from 93, AJW at Osaka Joe Hall, you remember that Aja Kong Eagle Sawai match? I don't think a lot of people are. I think they're remembering a couple other matches on this card. And what is the main event of this Classics episode, but the semi-main event on this show, it is the UWA tag titles on the line of Takako Inoue and Yumiko Hotta, the champions, taking on this fucking duo from LLPW, Miki Honda and Shinobu Kandori. So again, point to those LLPW reviews over on the Patreon. Miki Honda is not the jobber you think she is. She's not. I like to compare her to Yumi Ogura in the 80s for AJW. And if you've listened to a lot of these episodes, you're very familiar with my love for Yumi Ogura. Very good tag team specialist. Held the tag titles at one point. Had multiple tag partners of the kinds. Feuded with Bull Nakano throughout her career. Well, Miki Honda, I think, is a little better. At least in the ring sense. And her coming into this match with Kandori, I thought was a fascinating duo. Because they never team up. in LLPW. So I was like, how are they going to work against Yumiko Hotta and Inoue? Takako Inoue is like the Norio Tateno clone that's improving her game every year. Maybe at this point you can make an argument that Takako is better than Norio Tateno because Tateno still has that style that's in the 80s. And Takako has developed the sense of more modernizing a lot of that offense with the jumping knees and the like. Well, on the flip side, Yumiko Hotta is a Chigusa Nagayo clone, right? Except obviously not as good and not as popular. In this match, her role is to essentially gear up against Shinobu Kandori with various kicks, and Kandori catches her in various leg locks and whatnot. So Hotta can't handle Kandori, but the two of them, Inoue and Hotta, can, and that's how they isolate Kandori out of the match and then just obliterate Honda at the end. And I'll get to that in a second. Meltzer only gave this 3.5. I think that's a little harsh. I would go 3 3/4 myself. I went 22 minutes. Kandori at the start of this match, when they're eyeing each other up and they got the UWA tag titles there, Kandori takes the title out of their hands and then throws it on the ground, and then a brawl ensues. I'm like, hell yeah, that was awesome. Honda gets a couple great near falls. She's got one of the best high angle suplexes, German suplexes in the game at 93 right now, like at that point in time. And she uses Kandori's star power and charisma she shows in AJW that she doesn't often show in LOPW, is because Kandori doesn't like a whole lot of selling, because that's kind of her thing. She's an actual shoot fighter type deal. That when she's taking care of either Hotta or Inoue, that Honda can do the core wrestling part. And of course, she's the one to eat the fall in the end, is Honda, after Kandori's taken care of. And what happens is, Inoue's got Kandori busy outside, right? Hota's on the top rope, and she does a straight jacket suplex to Miki Honda off the top rope. Folds this poor woman in half, neck first. I thought she died. Was that the end for Miki Honda and her neck? It was not. Because Takako Inoue's got to knee this woman in the side of the head. They do, and then they proceed to do a, let's see, Hotta gets a tiger suplex near fall, and then they do a double team. So Kandori's off to the side. She's out of the match, effectively. Hotta gets the pyramid driver ready, and Takako Inoue comes off the top rope, Road Warrior style, and they do a flipping pyramid driver, and Miki Honda, like, if you told me she died on this move, I'd believe you. But I know that's not the case, thank God. But this woman lands right on the back of her head and crunches her neck so bad. And they have to actually reposition her because her neck is on the mat, not her shoulders. And they pin her 1, 2, 3. Holy hell. That finish was absolutely terrifying. And you know what? It was pretty awesome. And that'll do it for part 1 of this. I think the best match was that UWA women's match, and the 3WA world title match was second. If you want to see some cool stuff, Chaparita Arsari doing her thing was good as well. We will finish up Wrestling Queendom part 2 in the next episode. And maybe I can find some more information that time, but that will be highlighted by the Yamada Toyota All-Pacific title match. I can't wait. See you next time. And we are back with more WCW Nitro. Tanner, it's been well over a month at this point.
Yeah, we had a nice little holiday break, a little break away from watching this shit.
Yeah, an extended break because I got ill. And that, I said this last time when I recorded just the regular stuff. I go, being sick and ill, the last thing I want to do is watch Russo Nitro.
Yeah, I don't blame you. This was hard hard to digest.
This was my intake of this particular Nitro that took place on November 8th, 1999 from Indianapolis, Indiana, an attendance of 8,100 people, which actually Cage Match has 9922. So maybe one has like the paid audience. Maybe. So I did a fun little IKEA trip, and I know that makes me sound like I'm officially old, but hear me out. It was to set up my grand video game extravaganza thing in the basement. I'm going to send you a picture right now on the Twitter.
Are the listeners going to be able to see this picture as well? I
posted this on Twitter as well.
Oh, okay, yes. Okay. Oh, look at that. Oh, very nice.
Yep, got the floating shelf underneath the TV. Got the two CRTs with like the Atari and the Nintendo Entertainment System, and then I got the cubes with all the other consoles. I can pretty much plug and play anytime I want. It's fucking great.
Nice. Very cool, man. This is a good setup here that you have.
Got the wood paneling in the back because it's a basement and it's 1972.
Yeah, looks real nice and cozy. Heck yeah.
So I was setting all that up with, on that big 65-inch LED TV, I'm watching 480p Russo Nitro going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as we know, Russo Nitro, the wrestling doesn't matter.
No.
You could literally look up every now and again and go, oh, that's what they look like. Okay, and there you listen to them like a radio show.
Oh man, I can't put my finger on what Kimberly Page looks like. Oh wait, there she is. Okay, cool.
She's running away from David Flair like it's a horror movie from Friday the 13th.
Yeah, man.
What a fucking awful this show. Look, we're 2 weeks from Mayhem. Which I'm beginning to think the video game is indeed so much better than the actual product they're putting out. I did enjoy the video game to an extent, too.
I was about to say, you did buy the video game.
I did. On release day, if you remember. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the year part.
Man, they must have gotten a kick out of that.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a little bit of royalties here. Somebody must have bought the game.
Yeah. So here, okay, can you guess? We're going to play a game. Can you guess what was the longest match on the show and what the time was?
The longest match on the show?
Yes.
Eesh. I'm trying to remember because, like you, I watched the show earlier in the week, and my memory my memory does not serve me too well. But if I'm looking over, but was it perhaps the Norman Smiley match?
Ooh, that is actually a good guess because he tends to get a lot of time these days on it just without reason.
That's the exact logic of my guess was like it's 10 minutes of Norman screaming on the ground, so I'm going as Norman Smiley clocking in at just shy of 10 minutes.
It is actually Scott Hall against Lash LaRue in the second round of the WCW title tournament that lasted a whopping 6 minutes and 14 seconds.
Ooh. Hey, gave Lash LaRue some time.
They sure did.
I think we talked about this once before, but I believe if I'm remembering Death of WCW correctly, that one of Vince Russo's like major things was like, let's build the cruiserweight division around Lash LaRue. Maybe it's because of the Cajun accent, or I don't know, but there was a fascination about Lash LaRue from Vince Russo's perspective.
Well, from Vince Russo's Nitros, we can make a list over his tropes. Short matches with fuck finishes is one of them. No match can end clean. He is adamant about retiring Ric Flair.
And Kurt Hennig.
Yeah, these two have to go, apparently. They are no good.
Yeah.
They are no good to him anymore. Lash LaRue is the guy. Goldberg must be beat. He has to be.
Yeah.
He is putting Bret Hart on TV more often, so I guess there's that. And
yes,
he loves fucking skits of all kinds.
Oh yeah.
Anything but the actual wrestling.
No, you can tell very early on, and you know, if you put your blinders on and just never acknowledged, I guess his fingerprints on Monday Night Raw when he was there, or maybe how much they held him back, you could say, from one perspective. On Monday Night Raw, it's fully unleashed here. You know, it's very much, you know, Jerry Springer-esque TV, man. Like it's I think that there's the term is crash TV, perhaps. That's exactly what you get here. That's exactly what you get.
I make the mistake of listening to this guy talk every now and again on a podcast outlet that makes the mistake of platforming this individual. But he, whenever he talks about wrestling, he always points to, you have to make a TV show. Because in his mind, you're not making a wrestling show. You're making a television drama.
Exactly.
So what is TV drama? Well, it's like women cheating on their husbands. It's violence to the nth degree, and in this case, it's like hardcore plunder, people hitting themselves over the heads, that kinds of stuff. It's comedy, wacky skits that can make people go haha, and breaking the fourth wall, like they do on game shows.
Yeah, it's very much like General Hospital. Like General Hospital meets like and Days of Our Lives meets Jerry Springer and Maury, basically. Like that's those are his major influences in the wrestling business, is soap operas and daytime TV, you know, like drama shows, right? That's what we get here, man. That's what we're getting.
Yeah. So I've pulled up the good man from KB's Wrestling Reviews. This man, this poor soul, back in 2015, I believe the first Nitro review was in 2012. So we're 3 years into his little blog here. His name's Thomas Hall. That's what I'm reading, and he's written all this out. Okay, we've been using him for a while. I like using him because it requires me to not actually take notes for this horrid show anymore. So full credit to this band, because besides our commentary, we're kind of using him as the guide to remembering what has happened on these god-awful shows.
He took a bullet for us all, really.
Yeah, he did the bad work for us. So I do like his comment here. The question now is, can any match break 10 minutes? Well, I did in fact ask you that question. So we are on the same page with KB Wrestling Reviews. Okay. Here we go. We open in the production truck with Sid telling a production guy to play a tape when he gives him a cue. So Sid's in the arena. So I must say, I am very entertained by one Sid Vicious. Sid is looking for justice. And Kevin Nash and Scott Hall are all over the show cracking jokes, and they treat Sid like he's a moron. And, well, Sid goes into the ring, and he plays a tape in which his own voice dubs over the ref looking at Goldberg, and he's like, "I quit." See, he said it. He said it. There's the video evidence. I did laugh at that.
It's worse than that, though, because what they do is they play the tape, and everyone in the arena, presumptively, is looking at the screen, watching whatever dribble Sid has put up there, has the video guy put up there on the screen. We at home can only see the tape, and Sid screams, "I quit" in the live mic.
No, he didn't.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he screams, "I quit," and then he says, see, he says, "I quit." You can hear audibly, if you really want to dissect this, you can hear audibly that the utterance "I quit" is coming from Sid's microphone.
I hate this. I now hate it. Okay, so the Outsiders come out. They talk about Bret Hart. Scott Hall still has the U.S. title. We move on. There's lots of things happening. They update the brackets. Sting and Luger have advanced due to injuries, and then there's a long list, a laundry list of people. And we're back to, can Sting trust Lex Luger?
No.
Of course not.
The answer's no.
And we got Luger and Miss Elizabeth in Indiana Pacers gear. So, heels playing up to the hometown crowd. Very classic move. Makes total sense. We have, throughout the show, David Flair stalking Kimberly throughout the arena. She's crying in the back. David Flair did he have a pipe or a bat or something? What did he have?
He was carrying around a weapon of some sort. But I mean, let's be transparent here. This stems from Kimberly running over David Flair. so he's really just trying to figure all this out himself. Maybe he's got some trauma that he's trying to go through, and he just wants to talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll truly never know. He was just kind of yelling, creepily yelling her name. I will give her that, but for all I know, he could have just talked. Hey, let's talk this through. You ran me over in a car. What's up?
Yeah, yeah. You also had sex with my father, presumptively.
Maybe.
That's the heavy implication that we got when Rick ended up with the hotel key card a few weeks back.
Still allegedly. Yes. You know what? We'll just do this now. So Kimberly, during a fall, I think, what was it, a hardcore match? I think it was a hardcore match. She finds Bam Bam Bigelow mid-match, and she's like, save me. Okay, girl.
Yes.
And so she ends up in the ring. She calls out David Flair. Let's do it right here. And Bam Bam tries to attack David Flair from behind, and David ends up taking Bam Bam Bigelow out like a geek. And Kimberly runs away. This feud must continue, as some say.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So here's I'm glad that you pointed this out, because you can go through, if you would like, the Brian and Vinny reviews. There's actually one that's free on YouTube of them watching Monday Night Raw, and there's an infamous segment where they're dissecting this match, which is a hardcore title match within the tournament. It's Brian Knobbs versus Bam Bam Bigelow, and of course, as you pointed out, Kimberly runs up to Bam Bam mid-match and says that David Flair's following me or whatever, right? He's creeping. So Bam Bam gets distracted and walks away from the match, the hardcore title match, which does not have any countouts, but Brian Knobbs, because Bam Bam has essentially left the match, wins by countout in a no countouts match.
Correct. You got it. That was this show. That was this fucking show.
That led to very much fury and fervor on their part.
I don't blame them.
Yes, go and check out that clip if you can find it. It's from I don't know if they put on the main Figure 4 Pro Wrestling or Wrestling Observer YouTube page, but you can find it easily. It's out there.
I keep telling people, WCW didn't have all its bad shit in the new millennium. A lot of it came August 1998, and it just keeps getting worse. 1999 has been so bad. I mean, I've definitely had laughs over how terrible these things are.
Mm-hmm,
like one of my favorites that's most ridiculous is Ric Flair getting beat up in a farm field in Florida, and some trucker takes him back to the arena, and then he gets his ass beat again. And he's all disheveled and beaten up.
It's just so.
Did I say David Flair? I meant Ric Flair.
Well, either way,
a Flair.
They just don't. They just don't pay attention, and it's so telling.
It's revisionist memory, I guess. It's wild. Okay, so another theme.
Sorry for getting you cut off track there.
Yeah, another theme on the show and in Russo land is production doesn't know what the fuck is going on anymore. There's just so many things they can't keep up, and just simple things. We got, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, Billy Kidman, the Kidman cam, looking inside at Liz, and you literally see the production camera guy in the shot and them yelling cut.
Yeah.
Now we have Kevin Nash with his security license, so he's a man of many jobs these days, not wrestling, and he's talking, and then all of a sudden it cuts out mid-sentence on him. Cool. Get a lot of that.
Yeah. Blooper reels, as far as the eye can see.
Yeah. The Filthy Animals are basically trying to be Degeneration X, if you've noticed. They've really ramped up the sex-oriented catchphrases.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. Oh, jeez.
Okay. Norman Smiley versus Billy Kidman. Norman is he's in his phase where he comes out with a different like sports attire every week in these matches.
Yeah.
I think he was a football player here. He was a hockey guy last week.
This is the best the best segment that we get every week is whatever Norman Smiley is doing. That's easily the best for me.
I guess it's like the best we got, yeah. Yeah. Guess that's the best. Anyways, Norman's hardcore, remember?
Yeah, man. The most hardcore.
Yeah. Kidman wins. He's not hardcore anymore.
No, he's not.
Kevin Nash. Back to Kevin Nash. You ready?
Yes.
He no longer has security gear on, so maybe that wasn't a thing in the first place. But he has his manager's license. And if I didn't have my extensive knowledge of historical wrestling that I continue to try to build upon each and every day, I would not know who the fuck this guy was. I can tell you firsthand, back in 1999, I had no idea who Kevin Nash was cosplaying as.
Right.
No clue.
Definitely understandable.
Yeah. I thought he was, and why I remember this, I don't know. But I thought he was just like a guy cosplaying as like an Arab or an Indian of some kind. Right?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Kevin Nash is the Grand Wizard.
Yes.
So the Grand
if
Wizard. Hold on. Wrestling manager. Grand Wizard.
Yeah, a real throwback for any of those who played the Legends of Wrestling game series.
Oh,
God. Back in the day.
Yes. So
Grand Wizard.
One Ernie Roth.
Yep.
Was a wrestling manager from the 70s. Okay? It is 1999. This is 30 years ago. Okay?
I mean, I'm sure he gets a big pop out of that. I'm sure Kevin Nash is just in this for himself. You know, he doesn't
absolutely
he doesn't care if anybody catches the reference or not.
Yeah, I mean that's like the shit we see in modern like WWE, where they're referencing things from 20, 30 years ago, and everyone goes, "Why? It's so long ago. Who the hell remembers that shit?"
Right.
And honestly, I don't want to see any of that. It was fucking 3 decades ago.
Yeah, you know, it is really kind of that I get that feeling whenever DX comes out for like the Raw specials, like this last one, the Raw 30, where they had DX come out, and you know, it's one thing if you bring out Triple H and Shawn and you know X-Pac, right? But then you've got like, you know, they're talking about how old they are, and then Road Dogg's there looking like a beached walrus. It's just not. I don't know, man. It just doesn't do anything for me.
All right, so let's see here. More Sting Luger stuff. Sid Vicious is a psycho. Oh, they did like a little in-ring promo, and Sting like chokes him and says, that kind of stuff. Chris Benoit versus Medusa.
Yeah, this isn't problematic, is it? This is pretty fucking awful.
What could it possibly mean in 2023? Unfortunately.
I personally could not sit through this match. I had to skip it. It just
you couldn't stomach the 1 minute and 49 seconds before Jeff Jarrett ran out and laid out Benoit for the DQ.
It just, I don't know, man.
Evan Courageous came out and fought with the fucking referee.
It's just the idea that you put Chris Benoit in a match against a woman. And
I get it.
Just,
I know.
Yeah, it's just I can't.
All right. This isn't the WWF. We don't hit women in WCW.
Apparently.
No.
Apparently.
Chavo Guerrero comes in to ask the powers that be, God, was this phrase all over the show, his opportunity for winning the Battle Royal on Thunder. There's a Battle Royal on Thunder, in case you missed. Russo tells him, the opportunity around here is selling anyway. Get out of his office. So no reward for the Battle Royal. Waste of time. And then Jim Duggan's randomly cleaning toilets. I hate this show.
Well, that's the job that the powers that be wanted to give him. He begged the powers that be. You know, he said, "Hey, I'm still a useful person." I'm sure he saw what was happening with Hennig and Flair, and he probably knows that his stock is not nearly that high. So, you know, he went and begged for his job, and this is the job that he was given. He is now the janitor.
Rick Steiner is defending the TV title against now Cruiserweight champion Disco Inferno. There is a guy named Tony Marinara ringside with commentary.
Brilliant.
And he's carrying a bucket of some kind.
Do you think it's marinara? Do you think there's marinara in that bucket?
I don't care.
Apparently it's full of concrete. Is
that what it is?
Later.
All right. So Rick takes it. He hits Disco in the head with it. Bonk. And then he pins him.
I really wish that was a shoot. I really wish that Rick smashed him in the head with a shoot bucket of cement.
Yeah. Cut to the back. Nash is the Grand Wizard of Wrestling, as he announces himself. So there's your reference. And in his possession, getting ready to be the manager of the decade, he has powder, chloroform, and brass knuckles.
Yeah. All three of which are on your managerial checklist.
Yes,
things
of course.
That you need to have.
Got to have chloroform mid-match. Never know when you need to put someone out.
Exactly. Exactly.
We get a fight involving the Nitro Girls with the Nitro Girls finalists. I think it's Spice and AC Jazz. You into that?
This segment was interesting. I mean, they were yelling at each other. Again, very Springer-esque.
The more I read
here.
of the show, the more I unfortunately remember, and I hate this.
It's not good, man. It's not. This is not a good TV show. But if you were looking for intrigue, there's intrigue all over this one.
So here next we have the infamous Dustin Rhodes promo, and I did stop what I was doing and watch this. So we get the epic, and so Seven, the creepy Fan of the Opera guy that was taking children out of their bedrooms.
Yeah,
he's got his. We never did see the piano guy that came back. Remember,
no,
Sid was coming down, and the piano guy came from the seat. No, all right. Anyways, so floor's covered in smoke. He is flying to the ring with some wires to help him out, and I'm like, they're going all in with this guy. But then my memory bank was like, wait a minute. I think I remember what happened. I think I heard people talk about this, but I've never seen it with my own two eyes.
Oh, it's great.
So after this epic entrance that they're really trying, it's like, are they trying to do WCW Undertaker? Maybe, kinda, sorta. Maybe they're doing like a ministry thing. They'll get a faction together. A lot of things are going through my mind now, but I'm like, wait, none of that ever happened. So what the hell? What is going on? Tanner, what happened in the ring?
So as Dustin finally makes it to the ring, he cuts a shoot promo about how stupid this whole gimmick is. He says, I want everyone to take a good long look at this crap I'm in. He talks about how and he uses the words gold dust. He said that it nearly ruined his career being gold dust. He said that he was coming back to WCW. Talks about how WCW just fired his father, Dusty Rhodes, and talks about how Dusty helped build this company, and says that he's now here dressed up as Uncle Fester. He mentions that
Adams
his new
family.
name is. Yep, Adams Family reference.
Actually, that's kind of relevant in 2023.
Now it is, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because they have the new show, I suppose, right?
Yeah,
I
quite enjoyed Wednesday.
I haven't seen any of it except the scene that where she's dancing. I think that scene went viral, and it somehow ended up on my timeline. Somehow.
I recommend the show.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks very good.
I thought it was well done. A rare hit these days in the Netflix world.
He says that Dustin goes on to say that his new name is Seven, and that he's he says, I think he says like this is like the last time that you'll see me as this character.
Yep. All of that build up for a shoot promo to re-debut Dustin Rhodes.
Yep, and his new mission is that he's going to make the powers that be, WCW, everybody suffer the consequences of of what's happened to him and his family.
Yep. Yeah. His mission is to make the powers that be, WCW, suffer all these consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Russo hasn't been here long enough to I don't think he came up with the 7 character, because those vignettes and little videos were happening before he got into the company, right? Because we've been doing this for a couple months.
Maybe. I mean, that sounds right. And again, a lot of things that he's referencing, I don't know if we can have a definitive timeline on. I don't know the date as to which Dusty was fired. It must have been fairly recently, based off of based off of this promo and the timing of it all. But
right,
I don't know, man. Yeah, it's interesting.
All right, big match here. Surely this got like 15 plus minutes on television. Everyone's all hyped up. It's Sting versus Goldberg. Holy shit. All right. Championship caliber match at a pay-per-view, some might say. Maybe a Halloween Havoc of sorts. Man, Sting versus Goldberg. We got this Lex Luger Liz thing. Can he trust him? Are they going to come out? Maybe double cross him for the title? Surely this was excellent. And didn't go 2 minutes. Surely that didn't happen.
Oh gosh. It's really criminal what's happening here.
Well, unfortunately, Lex Luger comes out, accidentally maces Sting instead of Goldberg. Goldberg jackhammers this man and pins him immediately. So, to recap, Vince Russo has run Sting versus Goldberg twice in 2 weeks. For a total of 5 minutes.
It's bad, man. It's pretty terrible.
Luger blames Jim Duggan for the wet floor sign, and he claims his leg is out of his leg or whatever it is. Vampiro is a member of the Misfits, and we get Vampiro versus Buff Bagwell. It's 82 seconds long. Berlin interferes with Vampiro. Buff Bagwell wins. Creative Control beat everyone up post-match.
Yeah, I really don't know what else to say here. Vampiro being now a full-fledged member of probably one of the better punk rock acts to come out of the post Ramones era. I don't understand it. Why are the Misfits in WCW? No idea. I just don't understand any part of this.
Well, all right. Bret Hart versus Perry Saturn.
This should have been much better on paper than what it turned out to be.
What did we get in the end?
So Bret, he tries to give it the best kind of match that he possibly can. We do get the 5 moves of doom, and the finishes. He escapes a sunset flip and applies the sharpshooter.
Yeah, and there was, of course, copious amounts of interference involving Dean Malenko and Benoit and whatever. Bret Hart wins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Benoit made the save there. Another interesting aspect of it. Former Radicals member, Chris Benoit, faced Medusa earlier on in the night.
Kimberly does ask the powers that be. Oh, I'm sorry. She asked Creative Control if she can meet with the powers that be. And that, you know what? I'll just say it now. So there's a scene near the end where Kimberly escapes into a car, doesn't go anywhere. David Flair gets on top of the car, and he's hitting it with a crowbar profusely, banging out windows, breaking the windshield. He's denting the piss out of this car. Creative Control shows up. Hey, kid, what are you doing? And he runs away. And then they take Kimberly out of the car, and she's going to meet with Vince Russo.
Cool.
Exciting, yeah. How much do you think they damaged with that car? 40 grand?
Well, adjusted for inflation, possibly, yeah.
Yeah. Probably took a lot. Oh, Nash does a promo. There's a lot of fourth wall insider. A lot of references to WWF. They're doing 316, Undertaker, Austin working against pay-per-views. Just direct. So remember when AEW would just kind of they acknowledge the existence of WWE. They do it every now and again. They even mention wrestlers, but they don't do like it. The goal was always to kind of reference what the wrestler has done, and now they're here, and they had you're here now in AEW. Every time I've heard a reference in WCW about WWF, it's always on the realm of comedy. And when your show is this bad and you're referencing the other show like this, it kind of makes you think, well, shit, that sounds awesome. I think I want to see that show instead.
Yeah. What am I missing out on over there?
Right. Let's see. Booker T says Stevie Ray's been suspended. He's got Jeff Jarrett and Creative Control on his mind. He wants all three of them right there for a fight. And, well, they kick his ass and Booker T loses.
Oh, boy.
There was a big black woman that hit the ring, but she kind of got beat up, too. Like jacked, like great shape kind of deal.
Was that Midnight?
I don't know. For all I know, they could call her Black China. This is Russo, after all.
Let's see. I think
they already have
Midnight.
Asia.
That I'm checking now. Midnight Professional Wrestling.
Does it matter?
It I feel like it should. Oh. Yeah, I believe that's. I believe that's Midnight. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. She former bodybuilder. Yeah. There you go. This I think this is exactly who it is. Midnight.
Okay.
There you go.
We have a mixed tag match because we got to have these not wrestling women in the ring to wrestle. Asia and Dean Malenko against Rey Mysterio, and Tori Wilson is in the ring.
Oh.
Did not go well.
No.
Nothing seems to go well on the show.
Yeah, I think that they've...
Was Norman Smiley in the football gear the most entertaining thing about the show?
To me, it definitely was by far. Okay. I feel like they're trying, and again, this is another Russo thing that he did from his or tried to do from his time in WWF, but here we're getting a lot of non-wrestling female talent being involved in wrestling activities, and it's just not it's just not working out right? Like if you're a non-wrestling female talent or a non-wrestling male talent and you want to go dip your toe in that side of things, I feel like it should be with some consent. But here it feels like it's very much forced. Like, we're gonna have you guys go and do these matches here. Like, Tori Wilson at this time, was she looking to be a wrestler? Probably not. I can't imagine that being the case. She's probably only been with the company for a matter of just a few months. I don't know, man. It's just kind of crazy.
Sid Vicious versus the Total Package.
Great.
His knee hurts, he says, but they call bullshit. So go down or you're done.
Yeah. He's been avoiding taking matches recently.
Yeah, matches against like main event level guys at least. Let's see. Luger actually sells his knee wrapped in ice as Sid stomps on it, even though it's not actually hurt. But I guess it's still a 7-foot man stomping on your knee. So
yeah.
Now that I say it out loud, it does
hurt.
still make sense, even if he's faking the injury.
Yeah, that should hurt.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
So there's a riot squad out there. Goldberg comes down, spears a bunch of them. No contest. There you go. We already talked about the Brian Knobbs, Bam Bam Bigelow count out in a hardcore match with no countouts.
It is crazy. There's 2 no contests back to back.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Scott Hall versus Lash LaRue. It's a long 6-minute match. Oh boy, let me tell you. The Grand Wizard is outside. They do some things. Outsider's Edge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all throughout the show, they've been building to a ladder match in the main event, by the way. Involving Bret Hart, Goldberg, and Scott Hall. All people we've seen in matches on the night now.
Yes. I'm glad that you brought that up. It basically, the angle here, if you try to make sense of it, is that they all feel like they have a claim to the title. Well, really, except for Bret, who thinks that Goldberg should be the U.S. champion. But that's where we're headed here, folks.
Where are we? Are we on Kurt Hennig, Jeff Jarrett?
Yeah, the penultimate main event.
Think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this was also bad. Mostly because Jeff Jarrett's in. I gotta watch this guy on 2 fucking shows in 2023. Anyways. Creative Control comes out. There's a ref bump. They put Hennig through a table. They beat the shit out of him. And then the ref gets up, counts 10 as Creative Control is like, oh shit, we gotta get him in the ring to get Jeff the win. But they really want to retire Kurt Hennig, and well, it must continue. He did not retire because he has to get his shoulders pinned to the mat. He can't just lose a match.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's how it works.
And then they beat him up post-match. We got... Oh, and then we already talked about everything in between. Then we got the ladder match. Oh, boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tony recap. I love this comment by KB Wrestling Reviews. Tony recaps the evening, and my goodness, it sounds even worse. Hall and Sid start fighting before the other 2 even get there, and it's clear Sid could easily wait. Sid Vicious. That's right. Sid Vicious is in this match too. It's a 4-way now.
Yeah. I think every man in this match has already competed at least once tonight because of the tournament, and now they're all back.
Yeah. Bret and Goldberg come in with no music, as we're reminded about the special referee that was teased throughout the night. Oh, and it's the Grand Wizard, Kevin Nash.
Go figure.
So here comes Nash with a ladder and a ref shirt. Let's see. We're told... Oh, that's right. So during this travesty of a ladder match, we are told Tanner, at the pay-per-view, WCW Mayhem, brought to you by WCW Mayhem, the video game found on Sony PlayStation. There's going to be a match. David Flair versus Kimberly.
Yeah, I really don't know what caused Vince Russo to have the issues that he has with women. But it's littered all throughout this show, and it gets worse with time. Vince, you had a real problem, and I'm hoping that you've found a way past it. But going back and watching all this, man, it's pretty terrible. I gotta say.
Yeah, so we get more copious amounts of interference. Goldberg does get the title belt, but then Nash hits him in the leg. He grabs it, and then he fake puts it like at the top of the ladder. And then Scott Hall slowly climbs it to really just makes you seethe that they're treating the ladder match like it's a joke. Like this whole wrestling thing is stupid. And Hall wins the belt. Quote unquote. Great.
Yep. It's man. I just don't I just don't see why you would do any of this. Like, why would you want it to be a ladder match? Why would you like when I look at the lineup of Goldberg, Sid, Brett, and Scott Hall, half of those people I could never see in a ladder match ever, right? Maybe Brett and Scott, but that's for another day. I suppose
in the 90s you could have,
or the late 80s, right?
Yeah, the mid card if they knew what a ladder match was back then. They were into scaffold matches in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean Brett claimed that he helped invent the ladder match in Stampede Wrestling.
Ooh.
Like before
you know what? I gotta reread his book.
Run.
I really gotta reread his book. The problem is it's like 1,000 pages.
That's quite a tome there. But
the tome of hearts.
But yeah. But this Goldberg and Sid in a ladder match. Why can't you just make it a four corners match and still do something absurd like what you ended up doing with Kevin Nash anyway, right?
Because then you'd have to pin somebody.
Yeah, and he could just do some.
This
goofy,
is Vince Russo.
fast
You
count
can't pin. You can't pin nobody.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, man. This episode of Nitro and rehashing it now has really taken a lot out of me, and I just don't know.
Happy Sunday morning.
Yeah, this felt like work. This felt like I had to go to work twice extra this week. But hey, I enjoy getting to recap and doing this, in a conversational style with you. It just blows my mind that this passed for TV.
I'm gonna read verbatim what because I've referenced him so much, and we've been very transparent with where we get our notes.
Yes.
Overall rating from KB Wrestling Reviews, F+. Quote: At what point did this stop being a wrestling show? Somewhere recently, this turned into a bunch of direct-to-video movies spliced together. Kimberly was all over this show more than the Filthy Animals had been recently, which makes for good scenery, but stupid moments. She had no reason to be there tonight as she quit the Nitro Girls, and Paige is allegedly hurt, but she showed up for the sake of the plot. I love how he's breaking it down like it's supposed to make sense. Bad show with some watchable matches when they were given time. Nobody was given time. But we needed more shenanigans with Luger's knee or Kimberly being stupid. Standard WCW fare, in other words.
Jeez.
Yeah, this is par for the course now. Terrible.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to get worse.
Yeah. Have you ever seen any of these pay-per-views post Halloween Havoc 1999?
Probably not. Not.
I've seen one
in any consecutive order. I had to see a few. We did a series on the old Headlock Talk show where we did go back in time and revisit some particularly awful pay-per-views, and there were some latter days WCW shows on there. But I watched for pleasure, never really.
Oh, nothing's pleasurable now.
Yeah, it's and to be perfectly transparent too, like back in the day, like, my parents didn't really, we didn't really order pay-per-views, right? Like, it was just seen as like a waste of money because you could tune into Nitro the next night and they're going to recap everything that happened for you.
Oh, so. They do. They pretty much give it all away again, like right there. So I know I've seen one. At best, I've seen 3, but I have no memory of the other 2. And I did not watch any of them when I was a kid because we just couldn't afford it, and everyone stopped watching WCW by this time, at least all my friends. The Goldberg Kevin Nash Starrcade 98 was kind of the last straw for a lot of my friends.
Sure.
Yeah. So I've seen Bash at the Beach 2000. That's it.
Wow. Well, you're in for a real treat, I think.
Yeah, so we got Mayhem in 2 weeks, and what in God's name is that pay-per-view going to be? I don't know, but we're going to do it. We're doing it.
It's it's going to be something, but you know what? I think with time and patience, we'll all be rewarded in some way, shape, or form.
And that'll do it for this episode. Tanner, thank you. See you next time, everybody.
Bye-bye.